For tonight, the Northern Michigan University Hockey Wildcats take on their so-called crosstown rival, Michigan Tech Huskies. Tonight's game is being brought to you by Old Style, Tassin Distributors of Ishpeming. Old Style, reach for the best. And by Fry Chevrolet, make every day a Friday. Fry Chevrolet, US 41 West, Marquette. And by Getz's, a downtown tradition since the turn of the century, where you'll find personalized service in a friendly atmosphere. There you see the added attraction to this year's series between Northern Michigan and Michigan Tech, and that the Ramada Inn Cup that they'll be playing for tonight. It's simple. Northern Michigan wins tonight. They take the cup home. Michigan Tech, a tie or a victory, will send the cup back to Houghton for this year. This is the first season that this has been instituted by the Ramada Inns of both Marquette and by Houghton. Hello, everyone. I'm Ron Plum, along with Tom McCord. And Tom, game one of this series went to Tech in overtime, 6-5. You were in Houghton last night.
Well, it was kind of an unbelievable situation, Ron. Michigan Tech basically slept through the first two periods of the hockey game. Northern Michigan was all over them. The Huskies had 6 shots on goal in the first 30 minutes of the hockey game, and yet the game was tied 2-2. In the first period last night, Rhodes was basically unconscious. He played an excellent hockey game in the first period. It could have been 6 or 7-0 for Northern Michigan after that first period, but it was scoreless.
Interestingly enough, you told me, and I heard from several other people, that actually Northern dominated that game, and Herb Boxer said that he was very lucky to be tied at nothing after one period of play.
Well, Herb tried to tell me after the hockey game last night, Ron, that was his game plan, was to let Northern Michigan get a lot of shots on his goaltender, and I really didn't buy that one, but Rhodes did play extremely well. And on the other hand, Northern Michigan didn't get the goaltending last night that they have had in the games earlier this season. We've seen Northern outshot 2-1 and come up with a victory. Last night, Northern outshot Tech 2-1 and came up with a victory because Northern did not get the goaltending last night.
One of Billy Pye's rare nights off. He will get a second chance, so tonight he'll start in goal for the Wildcats. And a little bit earlier, Tom McCord talked with Wildcat head coach Rick Comley.
With Northern Michigan head hockey coach Rick Comley. And coach, game last night that you're going to look back on, you're going to say you should have won that one. 6 shots for Michigan Tech in the first 30 minutes of the hockey game. You should win.
Well, we should have won. We played well enough to win, and I thought it was a good effort. But it was one of those nights where your goaltender has an off night, and he didn't get much action early, as you just mentioned. I think that probably took him out of the game, and he lost his concentration, and when he needed it most towards the end of the game, he couldn't find it.
You know, from some of the games we've seen this year that Northern's played, we've seen the opposite happen. We've seen Northern outshot 2-1, and, you know, Pye's been outstanding. You know, last night, as you said, after the hockey game, just one of those nights.
I hope it was one. You know, big dilemma tonight for me now to decide who to play in. And normally they'll know long in advance, and I just, to this moment, still don't know who I'm going to play.
How's it going to go? You're going to watch the warm-up tonight and make a decision then?
I think that's hard on a goaltender, but I don't know. You know, I had a restless night. I thought a lot about it. I've thought about it all day. I've talked to different people, and I'm not sure whether Billy's tired, whether it's been a tough go for him at this point, or whether he just got cold last night because of non-action early. And this is a very important game for us, and it's important that our goaltender plays well.
Were you surprised by the way Michigan Tech came out last night? It seemed like they almost sleepwalked through the first 2 periods of that hockey game.
I thought after 7 games on the road and a tough stretch that they would come out and play very well. And it's not that they played poorly, it's just that they didn't really come after us aggressively like I thought they would.
You know, in the hockey game last night, officiating wasn't really a big up-in-arms type of thing. You know, it was a situation where really nothing was called either way except the things that he felt he absolutely had to call aside from the too many men on the ice.
It surprised me a little bit. I mean, I thought he set the tempo that he was going to let it go, and that's fine. And then all of a sudden, you know, we had a couple calls on us, and it was 4-1 in power play chances. And I think if a referee has that open kind of approach to the game, in a game where we're practically dominating the game, we should not have 3 more penalties than the other team.
What about tonight's game? Do you expect the same type of hockey game? I think you know, Michigan Tech should come out a little bit quicker tonight.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I just, you know, whether that's Tech right now or not, I think they're content with the win. They probably don't want to get outshot like they did last night. So, you know, you would think they might try and come out and play a little harder.
Winner of tonight's game gets the Ramada Inn Cup, the first ever between the two teams, Michigan Tech and Northern Michigan.
Well, they get the trophy and they win the series, and that's the important thing when it comes to a tiebreaker at the end of the year. And as good a year as we've had, if we lose this game tonight, we've lost the series to Duluth and Tech and only have the Denver series under our belt, and that doesn't speak well as this season winds down.
You know, at the Lake Superior game 2 weeks ago, you got Perry Florio back for the first time since he's been here at Northern Michigan after transferring from Providence. Against Lake Superior State, he really didn't distinguish himself, got his feet wet a little bit. Last night, before being injured in the second period, I thought he was probably your best defenseman on the ice.
Yeah, I thought he was too, and it's really unfortunate that not only that he got hurt, but he's going to miss probably 3 or 4 weeks and lose some conditioning, and he was just starting to get back, and he only had a year and a half of eligibility to begin with, and so we'll get him back for probably most of February, and he could be a big player down the stretch.
What about other possible lineup changes tonight besides the goaltending?
Only Phil Neuer coming in place of Florio. I contemplated a few other ones, but you know, I think we have our best 12 forwards in there, and I think our top 5 defensemen, you know, our group that we're happy with, and I just have to make that final decision on goaltending.
Rick, best of luck tonight in your quest for the Ramada Cup.
Thank you.
First period hockey action, Michigan Tech, Northern Michigan, coming up next on Channel 8.
Welcome back to Lakeview Arena. There you see the WCHA standings. And Tom, we talked a little bit, not much, about the first ever Ramada Inn Cup, but even more importantly, most of the teams behind Northern Michigan have 2 to 4 games in hand to them, and this is an even bigger game, I think, for Northern Michigan to at least keep that space between those teams. As you see, they've got 29 points, Wisconsin and Tech with 24, only 5 back, and I really think this is a big game tonight.
Well, it's very important that Northern Michigan get a victory tonight. As you mentioned, you know, to increase the point spread, keep it the same, but also it'll be a good morale booster going into Minneapolis next weekend to take on first place Minnesota. And you don't expect the Wildcats to go into Minnesota and sweep, so you'd like to get as many points as you can going in.
That's right. It's difficult enough to split in that building. And, of course, Wisconsin does not play tonight, but they do have 2 more games in the next 2 nights against Hockey East opponents. In fact, everybody in the WCHA, with the exception of Northern Michigan and Denver, won hockey games last night. And so everybody moved up the ladder, and Minnesota put a few more points between themselves and Northern Michigan. And it's just a big hockey game tonight. And the added incentive, of course, is the Ramada Inn Cup. For the first time ever this season, the 2 Ramada Inns, the one in Marquette, the one in Houghton, got together, and it's I don't know. This series is so intense. This is the 45th game in this series tonight anyway. But I guess it's nice to have something else to play for, and you know that Northern Michigan and Rick Conley do not want the Huskies skating around after this game with that trophy tonight.
Well, not in their own building, and as you mentioned, you know, it is a little extra to the game, and it's for bragging rights in the Upper Peninsula, and, you know, it's your closest rival. So I know darn well that there's about 25 people in that Northern Michigan locker room right now that don't want to see the Huskies circling the ice after the hockey game's over.
And after the game, you saw in Houghton, Tom, game 1 of this series, as you see the scoring leaders in the WCHA, and that was going into last night. So Sean Harrison actually with 35 points now. Phil Berger has 30. And, of course, we don't have who scored what elsewhere around the WCHA. They were spread out from east to west. But Harrison having 4 more points onto his total. But, you know, what kind of game do you expect tonight, Tom? You know, it was close all night last night. It was a little bit clutch and grab as the Wildcats hit the ice.
Well, you know, Ron, I expected last night's game to be a lot quicker, a lot faster paced. The first time Northern Michigan played in the ice arena this year up in Houghton, Michigan Tech was just all over them in the first 5 minutes. And last night was just the total reversal. Michigan Tech didn't get a shot on goal till the 13-minute mark of the first period. And by that time, it was 12-0 in shots on goal. And of those 12 shots, 4 or 5 were quality shots. And as I talked to Rick about and made mention in the pregame, you know, it very easily could have been 6 or 7-0. And as it was, he just got a real bad feeling, you know, with Tech, you know, keeping on coming back and tying up the game 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-3. You know, I really thought the whole game last night, if Northern Michigan could have gotten up by 2 goals, it might have been over. But they never reached that mark, and as a result, I could just feel it coming that they were going to lose the hockey game
That's
last night.
interesting because that has happened several times in a row this year, Tom. They've needed that one goal to put it away or that one stop to put it away and have not been able to get it.
You know, it's like Rick said in the pregame, Ron, Northern Michigan did not play a bad hockey game last night. The only thing that they had go wrong was they didn't get the goaltending that they needed. You know, when you outshoot an opponent 40 to 20 some odd shots and have all the opportunities Northern did, you expect to win the hockey game, be it at home or on the road. And that was the major difference last night. Damian Rhodes gave Tech the goaltending, and the Wildcats unfortunately didn't get it from Bill Pye, and I'm really kind of surprised that he's coming back with Billy tonight, although he has been the main guy this year and has done a heck of a job.
Well, you think back to some of the series, the Denver series where he faced, you know, made 86 saves in the 2 games, and all year long he's been, for the most part, good. And you know, the other players know that. They're not going to give up on Billy Pye because he had an off night. Heck, you know, you might have expected him to have an off night before this point in the season.
Well, Ron, you know, that may be exactly why Coach Comley is coming back with Bill Pye tonight, saying, hey, you know, you've done it for us before. You had a bad night last night, so what? You're our #1 guy. You're going to win with us. And, you know, maybe he's doing a little psychological thing there. It's hard to say, but that man on your screen right there, number 31, Damian Rhodes, played one heck of a hockey game last night.
And we'll see if he can turn the trick again in this building tonight.
And I was going to say a couple times last year we saw him do exactly that in this building. He can stand on his head sometimes when he's on.
There you see Tom Bissett of the Huskies, number 11. Talking to him.
One thing in the Wildcats' favor tonight, the last game here against Lake Superior State, Ron, the crowd, at least towards the end, really got into the hockey game and was really a loud crowd. Tonight, they expected a sellout. They only had 100 tickets left going into the dinner hour tonight, and we should have a crowd of 4,000 plus in Lakeview Arena tonight.
Well, it was tough against Lake Superior, Tom, for the crowd to get into the hockey game simply because of the style that Lake Superior plays, and that's clutch and grab. And it's interesting that Northern Michigan won in this building because WCHA officials will call the interference call. In the CCHA, they let it go a lot more, and Tech went up there to the Sioux and got beat by that team. And, you know, her boxer said it was just impossible. They just wouldn't make the call up there.
Well, if your analogy's right, Ron, we played a CCHA game last night because Buzzy Christensen, who will also be the referee tonight, didn't call a darn thing in a hockey game either way, which is, you know, it has its good points because at least it's not unfair to either team because as long as it's no call situation, both teams are equal. But it was, as I pointed out to you, a very un-Buzzy-like refereeing job last night for those of us who have seen Buzz Christensen work.
They're the starting goaltender for Tech, Damian Rhodes, who, as Tom said, was at times unbelievable in Houghton in game 1 of this series.
He made a glove save on Dean Antos last night in the first period on a breakaway. This was probably about 25 minutes before Perry Florio got hurt. Florio fed Antos just a perfect touch pass right up the center of the ice, and he made a glove save on Antos on the left side that was just unbelievable.
Back on defense for Tech will be Kip Noble and Jeff St. Cyr. And on the forward line, it'll be Tom Bissett at center, Kelly Hurd on the right wing, and David Payne on the left. And for Northern Michigan, there is Billy Pye, and he may turn out to be the man of the hour tonight. We'll see how he responds. You know, I really have a kind of a feeling, Tom, that Billy Pye is going to come up with a big game tonight. It's just, you know, it's one of those gut feelings. You can laugh at me afterwards if I'm wrong, but I really feel like he's the type of kid, the type of goaltender that's embarrassed by last night's performance, and I think we're going to see a pretty good game out of him, and it'll be interesting to see if Rhodes and he have that kind of battle tonight.
Well, Pye's also a tough kid, Ron, and I also think he's going to give his best effort tonight, as he always does coming out. But I'll tell you what, Northern Michigan, if they play anywhere near the intensity that they started the hockey game with in Houghton last night, I'll make a prediction right now that they will beat the Huskies here tonight at Lakeview Arena.
I think so. This is a tough building for opposing teams to win in. And now our national anthem. you see the officials for tonight's game. Bruce Olson, Bill Wiseman, the linesmen, they work here a lot. And as Tom pointed out earlier, Buzz Christensen, the referee.
You know, Ron, I didn't say what I said a little while ago to be critical of Buzz Christensen. You know, in the game last night, that was a fairly refereed hockey game. It's just, you know, it was very un-Buzz Christensen. Like it's usually, I'm used to Buzz being like the second Statue of Liberty. He's got that one hand up in the air all the time. And it's going to be interesting to see how he calls this hockey game tonight as we look at Herb Boxer. It's going to be very tough for the hockey players on both teams if he calls a different game from the way he called last night.
Boxer, of course, the WCHA Coach of the Year last year, having a little bit tougher time this year. And he said today at the Blue Line Luncheon that his penalty killing has just been terrible all year. They do lead the WCHA in power play efficiency, however. There you see Bill Pye, the sophomore out of Canton, Michigan, and there are his numbers. Not bad. And again, he had an off night last night, but how many times has he been the difference in a hockey game this year?
Well, I could count probably, I'd say about 14 times or 15 times. And Rhodes is only a sophomore. As Boxer told me last night, he did not play well in the Great Lakes tournament. He did not play well at Michigan Tech, but last night he was unbelievable.
Of course, the Wildcat head coach with the career record, part of that coming, of course, at Lake Superior State, his alma mater.
Surprised, Ron, at the crowd we do have in here tonight. It is going to be a large one. Most of the people are in the building already, and the weather outside is not that good.
There you see the lineups to start this hockey game, and the fans are into it already before the first.
It's going to be a loud crowd tonight.
Before the first dropping of the puck, and Tech will clear it into the Northern Michigan zone as we get underway. Daryl Olson, who's having such an outstanding year, both defensively and offensively, left it in the corner, but the Huskies with it. Lamarck had the shot hit him off the stick of Kip Noble, having to chase it back into his own end. The Huskies player tied up by Plandowski. That was Jeff St. Cyr. Antos kept it in. The puck comes to the side of the net, picked up by St. Cyr there. Lamarck trying to give him problems from behind, but St. Cyr takes it up to center ice and dumps it into the left wing corner. Podrasky turns behind his own net. Up on the left for Plandowski, just dumped it out over the line, delayed offsides, and it'll hit a Tech player in the zone. They'll bring it back out, and the first stoppage of play of the night.
Just underway in the hockey game this evening, 45 seconds into the contest as we look at some of the fans at Lakeview Arena. No score as of yet, nothing hockey game. And this line last night out here for Northern Michigan, Ron, the Galicki, Ward, and Drake didn't have the effect that they have had in some of the previous series, but did do some good forechecking and won a lot of faceoffs last night.
Wildcats carry into the Husky end. Galicki goes back and puts a hit on the Tech player up over the line, dumping it to the far corner, and then being dumped was Jamie Steer. Back come the Wildcats. Nice move by Wawrinka, but he left the puck behind, and Tech clears the zone. Up the left side comes Jamie Steer again. He'll drive it wide right. Rebound goes all the way to center ice, where it's played there by Steve Wendorf. Back behind the Husky net, Jeff St. Cyr sends it too far for everyone. They'll wave off the icing. Pye leaves it for Daryl Olson. Olson up the left boards, or the right boards make that. Berger couldn't control, and it comes right back behind the Wildcat net. Sukharov sends it up ahead. Tip pass, and here comes Troy Jacobson. Jacobson leaves it for Phil Berger in the shot, and the save by Rhodes as he kicked that right leg out there. Now the Huskies try to play it out, and they finally do. It'll be dumped back to the Wildcat blue line, played there by Daryl Olson. Now Olson up center ice over the blue line, still with the puck, tries to go around his man. He's held by St. Cyr, going to get the puck. Wendorf got it up ahead on the right to Kelly Hurd. His pass to the left side missed Davis Payne. Now Plandowski turned around and dragged to the ice by Tom Bissett. I think, Tom, we may see the same type of hockey game as you saw last night in Houghton. Back over the line, nice move by Bissett, but the puck comes out of the zone, and they'll have to touch up and do.
I think I'd prefer the same type of hockey game, Ron, the no-type call game, because if they start calling the game differently last night, we might have some very frustrated players on the ice.
Yeah, I think you're right. Antos took a flip shot, went off a Husky stick and over the glass, and they'll face it off in the circle to the right of Damian Rhodes.
Another look at the large crowd here at Lakeview tonight. Those end bleachers will be filled up very shortly. Very few spaces left in those end bleachers tonight. One observation, Ron, on the first 2 minutes and 50 seconds tonight. Michigan Tech is skating better than they did, I think, at any time in the first 2 periods last night.
Speaking of the crowd too, Tom, a lot of them with those standing room tickets. Again, tonight of course, you can't assume all of them are standing room. They don't put those on sale till everything's gone. There are a lot of people milling around, though.
Well, we'll be filled. The crowd just starting to come out of the donors room right now.
17-10 remaining first period, no score. Now Wawrinka risks the shot that was deflected by number 23, Greg Parnell. Huskies trying to clear the zone, and they will, as skating it up the right side. Richard Novak drives it into the opposite corner. The puck loose out front. It's whistled down on the offside.
I think that's an icing call.
Is it an icing? It came out of the corner at a weird angle, and Billy Pye misplayed it. And cruising in and slapping it in was a Tech player, and I believe it was Novak who cruised in and knocked it home, but they had whistled it down on the icing. Tom, correct? Rick Comley can breathe a sigh of relief. Well, that took a crazy bounce.
Well, we had some couple crazy bounces in last night's game, too, and one happened in the first period last night, and it took a crazy bounce on Damian Rhodes and came right out to the side of the goal and created a good scoring opportunity for Northern Michigan. That was almost the same type of opportunity there.
Playing the puck behind his own net, Scott White up along the near boards. Good tries to hold it in. Then Good pushes a glove into the face of his opponent. Maybe he just shoved him off on his shoulder. Hard to tell from up here. John Good just dumps it in, chasing Lamarck, and Antos gets there first. Sent it right out front. Went through a couple of skates, and the Huskies will clear the zone. Here comes Richard Novak again. Novak over on the left. Plandowski played it back out center ice. Lamarck gets hammered along the boards by Jamie Russell. Puck back into the Wildcat zone, and starting out, Brad Wawrinka. They take Bruce Olson with them. Wawrinka the only one to go down.
Wawrinka looking at Bruce saying, "Get out of the way, guy."
Podrasky tried to clear. He hit Sean Harrison, and then the Wildcats finally do work it down into the zone. Ed Ward back for Podrasky. His drive went off a stick. Now the play comes back the other way. Cleared into the Wildcat zone as Galicki tries to tie up his man, Rob Tustian. Wildcats on the move again. Ed Ward has it slapped away from behind by Ron Rolston. Now Drake puts a nice hit out in the corner as he slammed into his man. Puck lay loose there. Galicki back for Drake. Dallas Drake all tied up by Steve Wendorf. Ed Ward chases the puck along the far boards. Ward sends it to the net, and Galicki deflected it wide. If he didn't touch it, it might have gone off the stick of Rolston. Puck tied up along the boards, and they'll get a stoppage of play as they'll keep the play in the Husky end.
One thing that happened last night quite a bit, Ron, it just happened there. That whistle was an awful quick one from Buzz Christensen. That puck was still loose down on the end boards than the skates of Eddie Ward.
No score in the hockey game. 15-11 to go in the first period. And of course, besides the all-important game in the standings and 2 points, which probably is most important to both teams, the winner of tonight's game will walk away with the Ramada Cup, the Ramada Inn Cup, the first ever. And of course, Tech can tie and take it back to Houghton as well. But I guarantee you both teams more concerned with the 2 points than they are about the cup, although it is a nice-looking trophy. Wildcats clear it back out center ice again. Berger doing the honors, and then driving it into the far corner from the near boards, Darcy Martini. John Good scoots it for Troy Jacobson. Jacobson, left wing pass, went behind Dave Porter. It'll be an icing, and they'll bring it back down into the Wildcat end. There was still no score in the hockey game. Just about 6 minutes into this opening period.
One player around that always seems to play well against Northern Michigan when he's on the ice in the years that I've been here when he's played is Richard Novak, number 17. He's out there right now. We're looking at the goaltending leaders, and of course Stauber still on top, Pye still number 3. But getting back to Novak, he's from Kamloops, British Columbia. and a big fella, and once again he is a senior, and he always seems to get a goal or so in the series when Northern plays.
Quick shot off the faceoff, and Pye had to be sharp on that one as Richard Novak let it go. Now Jacobson trying to work it out of the corner. He's tied up in the corner by Parnell. Puck still loose. Finally, John Good plays it up the right side for Phil Berger. Berger ran into Jamie Russell, and the Huskies will play it at their own blue line. Now the play in the Northern Michigan zone. Warenko will turn with it. Up to Troy Jacobson. Jacobson over the line. Took the shot and hit the skate of Jamie Russell. Parked out front. Berger, he'll go pick up the loose puck in the corner. Now Berger sent it right to the side of the net. Getting knocked down out front was Dave Porter. Warenko put the shot on it. Deflected off Porter's stick, and Jacobson plays it. Now right out front, the backhand by Berger, and Damian Rhodes kicked it away. The Wildcats putting pressure on here in the first period, with still no score in this game. Now here comes Olsen off a shot, as he just came off the bench and cruised over the line and wristed a shot toward the net. Play remains in the Husky zone as Jacobson clears it in, and this team gets a hand from the crowd as they've kept the pressure on. Shot went off the Northern stick, and Billy Pye will clear it up into the crowd.
That could very easily be a penalty on Northern Michigan, Ron, as he did clear it up over the glass and into the crowd. Well, the Wildcats are on the road next weekend against Minnesota's Gophers. That's on January 13th and 14th, and you can catch all of that action of next weekend's affair on Q107. And right now, the Huskies have some questions, and we'll see if he is indeed going to call a penalty on Northern Michigan. He didn't indicate one to start, but now he's talking to the scorekeeper, and yes, he will.
You know what it's going to be? It's going to be for delay a game on Billy Pye, and I'll tell you what, for not calling anything else so far in this hockey game, that's pretty cheap.
Well, that was, it's an automatic penalty. It's supposed to be, and it was kind of an afterthought there because he never did indicate it right off the bat until Tech questioned him.
Well, I don't think Pye was aiming for the seats. You do that, you clear it into your own zone. He flipped it out towards center ice. But the Huskies will go on the power play for the first time. 6:46, the time of the penalty. To Billy Pye, 2 minutes for delay of game. Wildcats again pressing the Husky zone, even though they're shorthanded. Still digging away, still no whistle. Finally, it's dug out of there by Darrow. Phil Brown chases, and then turning up ice for the Huskies, Steve Wendorf drops it off, leaves it there, sent right out front. Kip Noble with it. Over to the right point. It'll be a shot on net. We're going to get
player in the crease for...
Yep, they're going to whistle it down. Richard Novak driving it from the right point.
Huskies on the power play, Ron, league leading the WCHA, and of course they didn't hurt that average any last night, going 3 for 4, 75%, so they're up over the 28% mark on power play, which is excellent.
Interesting, 33 of 120 in the WCHA. They have lost 4 non-conference games, and they are 34 of 143 overall, which means they've gone 1 for 23 against non-league opponents. That's pretty incredible to be that less efficient against other teams.
It's almost unbelievable.
John Good will chase it down. 1:05 to go in the penalty to Billy Pye for delay of game. The Huskies dig it out. Out to the right point. It's kept in there by Scott White. Won't take the shot. They put it right to the side of the net, and Pye made the save. As turning around and trying to backhand it in was Ron Rolston. Now the Wildcats gain control as Brad Warenko took it right away from Tom Bissett. Warenko gets knocked down. Got it back to Good, and he'll clear it up center ice to Plandowski. Plandowski takes a hit from Rolston, and the Huskies turn again. Here comes Bissett. Bissett hooked a little by Lamarck, left it behind him. Moving over to the center of the ice, Kelly Hurd with a drive, and the save, and they score on the rebound. As Tom Bissett picked up the loose puck and put it past.
Not a chance here on the rebound as Pye was down after the initial save and out of position. Here it is on the replay. Shot from the blue line, the initial save, and Bissett with the rebound, and Pye diving back but not being able to get there in time.
So at 8:18, the Huskies take the lead. Bissett with his 12th goal of the year gives Michigan Tech a 1-0 lead. 8:18 the time of the goal. Darrell Olson starts out for the Wildcats. Right wing pass for Phil Berger. Berger left it out front. Jacobson a drive and Rhodes the save. Jacobson actually didn't get all of that one. Olson drops it down in front of the net. Jacobson a shot, and it went just wide as Berger was screening for him out front, or Porter was, I beg your pardon. Now dumped up along the boards. Podrasky keeps it in. His shot was going to go wide, but Rhodes kicked it to the corner. Now they pile up along the boards, and still no whistle. We've got about 5 of them over there. Finally, it's dug out of there. Kept in. Berger ridden off the puck as he goes after it. Now going in, Jacobson tries to pick it off. Sent out front. Here comes Olson, a shot, and it was blocked off the stick of not Rob Cedarberg. It'll be number 17, Novak. And here comes Novak. Podrasky tied him up. Novak dumps it into the corner, chasing it down. Will be Sean Harrison, but he was beaten to the puck. Driven right back in. They'll blow it down into the laid offside, and then won't as the Wildcats clear the zone. Olson, a long shot from center ice. Rebound cleared away from out front. John Good tried to keep it in, but it's picked up by Tech. And they'll start out. Ralston up ahead on the right wing. But being driven to the ice was Rob Tushtian. Back at center ice, Ward dragged Ralston down.
A lot of clutch and grab going on out there.
Turning back the other way, Dallas Drake. But they're in 2-on-4. Drake sends it right out front. But picking it up and skating away from the front of the net with it is Scott White. Now there will be a penalty called at the 10-12 mark. It'll be a roughing call. And it's going to go against Jamie Russell of Michigan Tech. So roughing the call, and Russell will be into the penalty box for a couple of minutes, and the Wildcats have a power play opportunity. The Huskies have already converted on their only power play chance.
Last night, Ron, Northern Michigan was 1 for 1 on the power play, as Antos got the only goal for the Cats with the man advantage up in the Copper Country last night.
Well, it's hard to believe to me that you can play a whole game and only get 1 power play try, or at least only 1 penalty called on the other team. Long drive from center ice. Blocked aside to the corner by Damian Rhodes. Puck comes out to the right point. Podrasky with it. Sends it over left to John Good. Controls it off his own skate. And sends it down deep to Lamarck. Lamarck to the side of the net. Antos tied up in the corner by Wendorf. Puck lay loose. Antos sends it back. Lamarck back to the point to Good again. To Podrasky. Went behind him. Podrasky keeps it in. Plandowski back to Eric Lamarck. He just will keep the puck in the zone. Dumps it down for Antos again. Now Dean Antos back to John Good. Good sent it behind Antos, and Lamarck and he will trade places. Back to Good again. 1:10 to go on the power play. The Cats have not taken a shot. There's the first off Lamarck's stick, and it deflected off Kip Noble's stick and up over the glass and into the crowd. 1-0 Michigan Tech in the lead. 8:54 to go in this first period. 1:06 to go in the man advantage for the Wildcats.
Michigan Tech goal on a power play by Tom Bissett, his 12th. Bissett, another Husky player that always seems to play well against NMU. Assists on the play going to Kelly Hurd and Ron Ralston, who had the game-winning goal last night. Time of that first goal was 8:18.
Interesting, Tom. You mentioned Richard Novak, Tom Bissett, and Ralston. Those 3, along with 2 others, are among the top 5 Husky scorers against Northern Michigan in their college careers. At least those 5 key Michigan Tech players. That's not of all time. A drive just left off the stick of Warenka. The other 2 that's in that top bunch, Sean Harrison and Scott White. Novak and Harrison with 13 points apiece. Olson dumped it down in the circle to Berger to Golicki. Back to Phil Berger. Berger back to Olson. He'll one-time it, and Rhodes got a piece of it. Wildcats on the power play for 32 seconds yet. Warenka has it poked off his stick and out into center ice, and the Cats will have to go back to their own blue line with 25 seconds remaining in the man advantage. Back over the line, it's Olson. Sent it off the skate of Golicki, and it's cleared out of the zone again, this time by Scott White. Down to 15 seconds to go in the power play. Olson over the line. Gets a wrist shot going. The rebound cleared from out front by Scott White again. And then the Huskies clear it down the ice as Michigan Tech regains full strength. That puck gloved underneath him by Greg Parnell. He lost his stick when he fell down, and Parnell just reached the glove out and scooped it underneath him. The referee asking Bruce Olson what's happened, and I guess he was way up ice. He didn't see it, obviously.
Well, I think he asked the Tech player, did you do it like they do in big-time wrestling? He said, no, not me.
That's nasty, Tom. Bisson with 11 points career against Northern Michigan. Again, Novak Harrison with 13, Scott White with 7, and Rolston with 5.
You know, Ron, I didn't really see that stat that you have, but I just know that in the last 2 years that we've done Northern hockey that I have called those names a heck of a lot when we played Michigan Tech.
With good reason. John Good took a hit, lost the puck. Sent right out front and taken away by Kevin Scott. Now Scott back up ice. Right wing for Garrow. He's banged into the boards by Wendorf. Play goes to the corner and then behind the net. Puck still loose. Almost came right out front as trying to play it. Kevin Scott, he turns around and whips his shot that Rhodes will go out and play off the back boards, and he'll cover it up.
7:16 left opening period. Michigan Tech with a power play goal to lead Northern Michigan 1-0. And so far, Ron, the crowd really hasn't had an opportunity to get behind the Wildcats, but they start getting a little more offensive pressure on Damian Rhodes, and that'll happen. Michigan Tech right now has had more offensive pressure in the first 13 minutes of the hockey game than they did in the first 30 minutes of last night's game.
Rick Comley issuing some instructions to John Good. And we are going to have, I would guess, very near 4,000, if not over it, in this building tonight. Face-off in the Husky zone to the right of the Michigan Tech net. Phil Brown in to take the draw. He'll go up against Tom Bissett. He'll blow it dead and do it again.
That was another thing, Ron, last night that was different from games that we've seen here at Lakeview Arena this year. You know, all the problems we've had getting players lined up for the face-offs. All night last night, players from both teams were moving in and out of the circle, and, you know, the play was very rarely blown down. I maybe recall 7 or 8 times last night when that play was blown dead.
There's a drive that was deflected. Rhodes had it go up over his head. Now the puck loose behind the Husky net. Garrow puts a hit on in the corner, nailing Tom Bissett right out front, and the shot blocked by a diving Scott White. Play loose, and Michigan Tech will just clear it. It hit Bruce Olson just over the line. Here come the Huskies. Kelly Hurd over the line, but the play blown dead on the offside as John Good dumped Davis Payne.
Nice check that time by number 4, John Good of Northern Michigan. And I think we've got a little tight coming up here on the screen. Yep,
that's our mystery Wildcat of the night. As you can probably guess by that picture, he was
1 year old maybe.
That's right. And this player that we just saw started out as a goaltender, although not that early in life.
Evidently learned some things since that time.
Yeah. Mainly that maybe he wasn't a goaltender. Huskies will clear the zone. 6:25 to go first period. A 1-0 Michigan Tech lead. Goal by Tom Bissett. 8 minutes into this game. Centered right out front by Berger. Jacobson couldn't get to it. Now back over the line comes Michigan Tech, and a shot and pie. A big save that time. As winding up and ripping it was Jamie Steer.
Big rebound that time, too, out front of Bill Pye.
Wildcats clear it in. They'll blow it dead on the delayed offside and bring it back out over the blue line with exactly 6 minutes to play in the first period. And the Huskies holding on to that 1-0 lead.
You know, Ron, those baby pictures are real tough ones, I'll tell you. And I think we really should give a second clue to that first picture right there. We could say that he started out as a goaltender, but now he's a goal scorer.
Yeah.
That should help narrow the field a little bit.
Yeah, you cut it from 30 down to 28. Real good. Back out center ice. It's cleared in by Warenka. Rhodes leaves it behind his own net for Darcy Martini. Martini will skate it up, stop, and send it up on the left wing for Sean Harrison. Too far for him. Good. Plays it over for Warenka. Harrison still chasing it. Good back to Wawrinka. Slipped by him as Plandowski plays it back to Wawrinka. Brad will turn and then set up behind his own net and start up the left side. Up to center ice. Plandowski right wing pass for Antos. Left and right out front for Plandowski, who had to dive to try and get a stick on it. He did, but it's played along the boards. Antos took it away right out front. Drop pass by Plandowski, and Antos couldn't handle it, couldn't find it. Now the Wildcats start out again. Plandowski will just drive it into the Husky zone. He didn't get much on that one, and Michigan Tech will play it in their own end. Podrasky kept it in, set it right down front. And that didn't get through as Antos was trying to deflect it in. He was being bothered by Jamie Russell. Under 5 minutes to go in the opening period. 1-0 Huskies. Long shot. Pye sticks it to the corner. Drake left it behind himself for Ward. Out to the blue line, a drive just wide to the right off the stick of Russell. Kept in at the right point by Scott White. Now Ed Ward for Drake. It went off his stick, and the Huskies shoot it right back in. Podrasky for Ward along the boards. He's all tied up by Davis Payne. Finally, Drake comes out with it. Skates right across in front of Billy Pye and brings it out center ice. Rhodes left it behind his own net. Then Galicki went down and put a lip on Steve Wendorf. Back out center ice. St. Cyr clears it in. Billy Pye plays it for Phil Sukroff. Up on the left, Darrell Olson's long pass went too far, just missed, and it'll be an icing.
Looking for Dave Porter that time, and Porter maybe 2 or 3 inches away from picking up that puck, although it was a very extremely hard pass at the Michigan Tech blue line.
3:59 to play, opening period. As you see, Troy Jacobson, his stats on the year. 1-0, Michigan Tech in the lead. Coming up between periods, we'll take a closer look at Pete Podrasky, tonight's player profile.
Number 7 on the screen there for Michigan Tech, Jamie Steer, had 2 goals in the hockey game last night. A real impressive looking freshman for her boxer.
Out of Calgary. Sukroff and Parnell get their sticks up near the blue line, and then there's going to be a penalty called on Jacobson, I believe, as he dragged Wendorf to the ice. Maybe they'll send them both. Looks like they're just going to send Wendorf. Interference, they'll call it. Well, I missed the first part of it. I saw the tail end of it. I assumed that it was the Wildcat that did the pulling down, but it was interference.
16:15, the time of the penalty on Wendorf, and that kind of surprised me too, Ron. I thought that Jacobson might be the first to go, and maybe Wendorf was an afterthought, but there was interference on 3 different fronts that time as the Wildcats tried to bring that puck back up the ice.
Wildcats' second power play opportunity. They missed on the first. 1-0, they trail it.
Good opportunity for Northern Michigan to even up this hockey game. They've had the territorial advantage on Michigan Tech, but Tech has the 1-goal lead.
Puck dug out of there by Podrasky, sent it to the far boards, cleared up to the blue line. Losing his balance, but keeping it in was John Good. Here's Lamarck, moves it out front, this shot, and Rhodes kicked it to the side. Now Podrasky plays it. Dumps it down low. Antos back to Podrasky. Podrasky will drive it, and again Rhodes to save. The rebound covered up as Plandowski tried to swipe the backhand in.
Good low, hard shot from the blue line by Podrasky, and the Wildcats with the man in the right position that time out front trying to get a little screen action on Damian Rhodes. That's one thing last night that didn't happen too much either, Ron. The Wildcats didn't run too many people in front of Rhodes when those shots were coming through from the blue line.
Well, tonight they're doing a little better job of it, but Rhodes has been equal to the task so far.
Plandowski had a goal in the hockey game last night on a real good effort, had the puck down in his skates off of the side of the Michigan Tech goal, and managed to get him from his skates up to his stick to get the goal last night for Northern Michigan.
Face off into the circle to the left of Damian Rhodes. 3:21 to go first period. 1:36 to go in the man advantage for the Wildcats as they try and even this hockey game up. Again, a very near a full house here tonight. Wildcats need a win heading into the Mariucci Arena next weekend. They need a win here tonight. Podrasky waits, leaves it for Good. Back to Podrasky, back to John Good. He'll play it to the circle for Lamarck. Back to Good, to Podrasky again. Podrasky, other side for Antos, sent it cross ice to Lamarck in the corner. Eric Lamarck out fronted, went off the stick of Podrasky as he was cruising in. Played to the corner, the Wildcats still with possession. Pete Podrasky had it hop over his stick, and the Wildcats will have to come back on side.
Something for the fans to watch for, Ron, is how high those Michigan Tech forwards are coming out on the Wildcat blue line.
John Good tipped it for Podrasky, just did keep it in. Back to Good, back to Podrasky. The fans wanting a shot, Podrasky did, but it hit the skate of Rolston, and now Good sends it down for Plandowski, a shot, and it was deflected by Rhodes. One time, then Rhodes with a great save as Plandowski drilled it. What a save by Damian Rhodes as he came from the right side of that net and made a dive across it, and Plandowski had everything on it.
Well, he made more than one of those in last night's hockey game, too, and Plandowski had the good setup that time from the low corner and whipped the shot, and Rhodes coming back the other way, sliding across to make that save. Wildcats have got to get more rubber on Rhodes. The more they put on, the better chance they're going to have of getting one in the net.
You see Plandowski shaking his head a little bit as he comes to the bench.
One thing that Northern Michigan got last night, Ron, they're going to get tonight, they're going to get the scoring opportunities. They've just got to make their shots count.
Several of them have been good scoring opportunities. Down to 15 seconds to go in the power play. Olsen right wings it for Drake. He'll go over the Husky line and stop along the boards. Drake's pass picked off by Bissett. That'll kill off the rest of the man advantage. Back to Huskies right back in as Kip Noble just had a pass go out front of him, and both teams now at full strength. Malicki will dump it behind the Husky net with 1:35 to go in the first period. Taking the puck away was Berger, sent it right out front, but getting tied up and turned around was Drake. Now a long shot wide to the left. Played in the corner, trying to dig it out of there is Davis Payne. Finally, Garrow comes away with it. Doug Garrow being ridden hard by Russell, dumps it in behind the Husky net. Warenka went deep. Pardon me, that's Phil Brown. Garrow kept it in as they keep working. Down to 1 minute to go in the first period. Puck in the corner. Kevin Scott works his way loose. Scott being tied up. Finally had the puck taken away from him by Kelly Hurd. Finally, they get a whistle and a stoppage of play with 48 seconds to go in the first period as the sticks get a little high down in the corners. Still a 1-0 Michigan Tech lead.
Face-off will be off of the right side of Damian Rhodes. Rhodes picking up where he left off in the hockey game last night. In that game last night, he had right around the 39 save mark for the hockey game. Wildcats outshot Tech 39-24.
Well, we don't have a count as of yet, but Tom, I would have to believe the Cats are on about a 2-1 pace again here in this first period.
I think Michigan Tech will be lucky if they have half a dozen shots here in the first stanza.
Now, Pye got tested a couple of times early, but he hasn't seen much work in the last 10 minutes or so. Face-off won by the Wildcats, stays in the circle. Finally, Jeff St. Cyr will pull it out and start up the left side. Dump down to the right wing corner, chasing it down there, Rob Tustian. Bumping in the corner, Tustian plays it again. He gets hit by Sukharov. Played up ahead, Wendorf kept it in. Being tied up by Garrow, and they'll freeze it again and face it off with 27 seconds to go in period number 1.
Once again, the only goal in this opening period, a power play effort for Michigan Tech. The Huskies now 4-5 this weekend with the man advantage. Tom Bissett from Hurd and Rolston back at 8:18 in the opening period.
And that boosts their WCHA leading power play efficiency up just a notch. They're up at 27.5% efficiency.
Well, if Herbie can figure out what the Huskies are doing right this weekend, Ron, he better bottle it and save it for the rest of the season because they're doing a number.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Northern Michigan does not win tonight, that race from 2nd through 6th suddenly gets an awful lot tighter. Puck lay loose, sent right to the front of that. Olsen lost it right out front, and Pye stopped it. as moving right in was Sean Harrison. Darrell Olson with a rare defensive mistake as he just put it right on the stick of Harrison. Down to 12 seconds to go. Up ahead, Klandowski. Now back into the Wildcat zone as the period ends, and the Wildcats do outshoot the Huskies in the first period, but Michigan Tech has the lead in the hockey game. And coming up, we'll take a closer look at Wildcat Pete Podrasky, and then we'll be back to give you the stats and the replay of the only goal of this hockey game. 1-0, Huskies in the lead after one.
Thank you for calling Togo's.
Yes, Togo's. I would like a large number 16 delivered to 1900 Bluff Street.
Okay, we'll have that to you right away. There you go, Dave. 1900 Bluff Street.
Okay.
It's a bird. No, it's a plane. No, it's a sub.
Dine in, take out, or call for quick delivery at Togo's, home of the original sub sandwich.
They score again as Pete Podrasky walked right in and put it in the upper right-hand corner past Derek Pizzi, and that makes it a 6-2 hockey game.
And after you do score, you know, your reaction a couple minutes later after, you don't really remember what you did, you know, like guys dance around on the ice or something like that, and you don't really remember, you know, as far as what you did, but it's a very unique type of feeling, and those of us that, you know, that get to feel that type of thing are pretty lucky.
This is Pete Podrasky at the age of 1. Little did Pete know that in just 3 short years, the game of hockey and the feeling of scoring goals would become a big part of his life and soul. Pete began his hockey career at the age of 4 before joining his first organized team at the tender age of 6. Pete played 2 seasons with the Plymouth Red Wings Might House and was chosen the team's most valuable player in his second year. Pete joined his first travel team, Adray Community League, at age 8. At 10 years of age, Podrasky was selected to play on his first AAA Travel League team, Roberts Pools in the Michigan National Hockey League, and that is where Pete began his Canadian travel experience. Roberts Pools won a number of tournaments in the States as well as Canada, with a rewarding season finale of winning the State of Michigan Championship. Pete continued to play for Roberts Pools through Pee Wee Major, and at the age of 12, he traveled to Quebec City, Quebec to compete in the renowned Quebec International Pee Wee Tournament, along with a total of 75 teams from Europe, Canada, and the United States. Podrasky's team represented the Detroit Red Wings in the Americans Cup Division. Pete's career grew and prospered from there. He played for the Michigan Dynamos in the Bantam Division of the MNHL, traveling throughout Canada and the United States, with victories piling up across the map. Podrasky's first year of midget hockey was spent with Mike Illich's Little Caesars Midget Major hockey team, which won several tournaments while competing in the U.S. and Canada. Seeking visibility, Pete made a tough choice. He decided against playing for his high school team in Canton, Michigan. Classwork was not always easy to make up, but building a career from a lifelong dream is never easy. While the road had its bumps, it has smooth spots as well. 16-year-old Pete Podrasky was selected to play for CompuWare's midget major team, coached by Rial Turcotte. It was on this team that Podrasky saw playing time with Wildcat teammates Eric Lamarck and Billy Pye. CompuWare would win the State of Michigan Championship and the AHAS National Championship. The team was regarded as one of the top 2 teams in North America.
That season, I think we went, as far as a record, we were like 90-2. And we won the national championships in our own home rink, and we had a tremendous team. Everybody off that team is either playing college, junior, or pro right now. So I think that would have to be the highlight of my career.
Podrasky competed in the Michigan Midget Festival, where he was chosen with 7 others to participate in the Junior Select Camp at Colorado Springs, Colorado, where the best 17-year-olds in the United States went head-to-head. On returning, Podrasky was drafted in the first round by the Hennessy Engineers of the North American Junior Hockey League. Pete chose to play for the Engineers despite recruiting calls from several teams in Canada and the U.S. Colleges continued their recruiting efforts during the season, and Podrasky was offered a scholarship from 2 major universities. He decided to play for Northern Michigan University. Following his first season as a Wildcat, Podrasky was selected to attend the National Junior Camp in West Germany, where he trained at an Olympic training center.
The thing is that, you know, the hockey there was great and everything, but it was so weird being in, you know, a foreign country. It's, you know, it's different being in Canada from being here, but it's even a lot more different being in Europe than it is being in the States. And it was just a tremendous experience, you know, the people there, and the sights that we saw, and you know, the different types of food, and you know, how the people live and stuff like that, how they drive and everything else. It's just an unreal experience, and it's something that I'll, you know, never forget.
With Pete Podrasky's talent, ability, and willingness to work hard, it seems inevitable that he will have a fulfilling and prosperous career in the sport of hockey.
I got a dream, it comes from the heart of the heartland. I can make my dream, 'cause I take my dream right from the heart of the heartland. Right from the heart of the heartland. I wanna reach for the best, got it all here in my hand. Wherever I go, gonna let them know I come right from the heart of the heartland.
In the heartland, people know what it means to reach for a dream. That's where Old Style is brewed. Brewed with a dream. Not to be the biggest beer in America, just the best.
I got a dream, I got a dream. It comes from the heart of the heartland. Right from the heart of the heartland.
Reach for the best. Old Style beer.
Hey guys, at Getz's you'll find a wide selection of athletic shirts of all your favorite teams. A complete selection of Levi's, including straight leg and boot cuts, starting at $21.99. Go downstairs and you'll find everything you need in outerwear and workwear by name brands like Woolrich, Carhartt, Dickie, Lacrosse, and Sorel. And there's Getz's shoe department featuring Timberland, Red Wing, and Rockport. Getz's, a downtown tradition since the turn of the century, where you'll find personalized service in a friendly atmosphere.
Had no chance, and Tech had the 1-goal lead. Damian Rhodes in that first period had another good 20 minutes of hockey, a good solid 20 minutes of hockey as we look at these shots on goal.
You were close. You said they had 6. I said they outshot them 2-1. We're both 1 off, but
I'll tell you what, you know, shots attempted in that first period. Northern Michigan had 25 attempts at the Husky net. Michigan Tech only had 11 back the Northern Michigan way.
That's again the Huskies leading 1-0 again. Damian Rhodes probably the reason they're up 1-0. He had maybe 3 real quality saves time, maybe the biggest on Eric Plandowski's drive from right out in the slot.
You know, Plandowski had a good one-time effort on the Wildcat power play, just barely missed the net as Rhodes, I did believe, get a piece of that. But I can guarantee you one thing, Ron, I'll stand by my pregame prediction, especially since these shots attempted, if they keep going that way, I still say Northern Michigan will win the hockey game tonight.
I'll tell you what, you wonder if the Wildcats don't come out of this period tied or ahead, how frustrated they'll be heading into the third period, because they have thoroughly outplayed Michigan Tech through 4 periods of hockey this weekend. They lost one game. They're down 1-0 in game 2.
Well, so far they have nothing to show for it. They just have to keep doing what they're doing, and if they keep getting the quality shots, sooner or later, one's going to go in. And the ones in the second and third periods last night when the Wildcats did get 5 goals didn't seem to be their best opportunities. They had their best opportunities in the first period, and yet they didn't score one.
Just 3 penalties in that first stanza. Northern Michigan getting whistled once for 2 minutes, had a delay of game on Billy Pye. Michigan Tech taking 2 penalties for 4 minutes. The Huskies 1 for 1 in the power play. Northern Michigan 0 for 2. Here's Tom McCord with the play-by-play of period number 2.
Thanks, Ron. Bissett, the goal scorer in that first period for Michigan Tech, loses the face-off to Northern Michigan. Wildcats take possession here at the start of the second period. Podrasky will drive it down into the Michigan Tech zone. Landowski pinches in along the near side boards, gets bumped off the play by Kelly Hurd. They'll pile it into the corner, and we'll face it off in the Michigan Tech end.
Dean Antos came charging in and racked Jeff St. Cyr to the boards as Northern Michigan again begins play in this second period, where they had the play most of the first period, and that's in the Husky end of the ice.
Antos, Lamarck, and Landowski for Northern Michigan. Daryl Olson moving into the top of the face-off circle, looking for a possible shot opportunity. Pete Podrasky across on the other side. From the face-off, Huskies control. St. Cyr pulls up in behind his own goal, dumps it up the boards and back through center ice. Hits a wet spot right at the center, red line, and does a little pinball move there. St. Cyr now will try and carry it back through center ice for Michigan Tech. St. Cyr hits another wet patch in the ice, has to pull up, flips it into the Northern Michigan zone. Ice still a little bit wet here at the start of the second period, and that makes for tough skating and tough puck handling. Play loose along the near side boards. Landowski botting his man there. That's Bissett, and we'll face it off this time in the Northern Michigan zone.
There you see another shot coming up of our mystery Wildcat tonight, and if you want another hint, well, he's a junior now. He wasn't a junior then. Well, he was a junior. Now he's just a junior, right? Anyway, majoring in speech and communications at Northern Michigan. Yeah, that was one of the questions brought up at the Blue Line Luncheon today. How did they like the 12-minute intermission between periods as opposed to the 15? And, you know, Rick Comley pointed out that there are pros and cons to it. That's one of the cons right there, Tom. The ice does not get a chance to set up totally. And that was probably one of the strangest things I've ever seen. The puck was scooting up ice, and it just died right in center ice there.
Did a quick little spin move and a little gyration.
Let's see if they're going to clean it up.
Well, I think that's what we're going to wait for, Ron, because there's a couple of spots on the ice right now where you can actually see the water, and right at the center of the red line where they drop the puck there is one of them.
Maybe get a squeegee out there and push it to the side boards. As you see, Rick Comley on the Wildcat bench.
I think they're just waiting, really, to let the ice kind of form up a little bit more.
That could be, too.
And it usually doesn't take very long. You know, ice is very cold.
Especially if you're laying face down on it.
That hasn't happened to me recently.
Nor I for a long time. Daryl Olson, top defenseman as far as scoring goes in the WCHA.
Olson had a nice goal last night against Damian Rhodes in the third period, taking a shot right from inside the Husky blue line and just wristing it up into the net. Top shelf last night on Damian Rhodes.
Now you look at the Northern Michigan statistics, and it's pretty impressive. Phil Berger with 30 points, Dean Antos with 28, Daryl Olson 27, Lamarck and Drake with 25, Podrasky 24, Galicki 22. That shows great balance. Of course, we pointed that out before this season.
Wildcats control the face-off. Warenka in behind his own goal, leaves it back there for John Good. Haven't seen too much of the sixth Northern defenseman tonight as an icing is called. Of course, the sixth Northern defenseman is number 6, Phil Neuer. I don't believe he's been on the ice yet tonight.
I don't think so either, now that you mention it. They've been rotating Olson, Podrasky, Sukarov, Good, and Warenka, and really Sukarov hasn't been on that much either.
You know, I hate to go back to last night, but, you know, last night Perry Florio that we talked about, his second game as a Wildcat, was probably the best Wildcat defenseman on the ice. He carried the puck well, passed the puck well, and really looked like he hadn't missed a year and a half as he actually had. And it's just a shame that he got injured on a freak play last night. Michigan Tech had just iced the puck, and right when icing was being called, he was hooked by a Michigan Tech player right at the blue line. Kind of looked like an innocent play as he fell backwards to the seat of his pants and hit his shoulder on the ice, and that was the end of it.
Bet you there wasn't a penalty call on it, right?
No, there wasn't. But a tough break for the Wildcats and for Perry Florio. We hope to see him back in the very near future. From the face-off, Novak dumps down toward the Northern Michigan goal. A centering pass out, and Pye's going to intercept that with a goalie stick and hang on. Face-off back in the same circle.
Just a minute 17 into the second period. It's a 1-0 Michigan Tech lead. A first period goal by Tom Bissett at the 8:18 mark off a shot by Kelly Hurd that Billy Pye made the save on, and the rebound kicked way out to Pye's left-hand side, and Bissett had a wide open net to shoot on. At the other assist going to Ron Rolston. That again at the 8:18 mark of the first period.
Parnell wins the face-off, a drive from the blue line, and Pye is sharp there as he makes the save, as Novak had the opportunity right out front of the goal. Berger back in over the line, drop pass down low, and Jacobson will make that. Porter just misses the pass, tries a centering effort, but the Huskies rather will clear the Michigan Tech zone all the way back down into the northern Michigan end. Good effort that time by Porter. I also thought he played well last night up in the Copper Country.
I say, Tom, maybe another indication how this game's going to be called tonight is Porter was pretty well dragged to the ice before he could get a hand on that pass.
Play loose in the Michigan Tech zone. Jacobson checks his man off the puck, clears into the near side quarter. Porter will be the first man there for Northern Michigan. Knocks Russell to the ice, but the Huskies clear the zone back through center and dump it down into the Northern Michigan end. Once again, referee Buzzy Christensen letting the players play the game tonight. Nothing wrong with that, as we pointed out in the first period, as long as it's the same both ways, and so far around it has been. Play tied up into the near side corner in the Wildcat zone. Battle going on for it there, and we'll finally whistle it down. And a couple of elbows fly down there with Rolston and Daryl Olson.
Rolston throwing a couple of quick lefts at Daryl Olson's head, and probably not connecting too much, but you made a prediction before the game, Tom. I'm going to make one right here. I really think that once the Wildcats score, Damian Rhodes had better be really sharp after that, or I think Northern Michigan may put a few more on the board in a big hurry.
A couple of penalties out of that last situation coming at the 2:24 mark here, or 2:26 mark here in the second period. Olson for Northern Michigan, Rolston for Michigan Tech.
First coincidentals of the night.
Roughing call on Rolston. And an elbowing call on Daryl Olson. Will be playing 4 skaters aside in front of the respective goaltenders for the next 2 minutes. I kind of felt that way in the hockey game last night too, Ron, and quick shot right from the face-off, and Pye has to be alert there as Bissett had the chance. Pass up the left wing for Antos. I thought that once the Wildcats scored, it might be open season, but Tech came right back and tied the game, and it was just back and forth from there. Buzzy Christensen just missed getting a puck in the helmet.
he was going to the ice pretty quick.
A little premature there. Back in behind the goal is Martini. Martini, a big boy, 6'4", clears it back out into center ice. Kelly Hurd on the move for Michigan Tech. Drop pass and snapping off a quick shot was Kip Noble, and that just sailed wide. Wildcats with Plandowski circling in his own zone. Daryl Plandowski clears a pass up into center ice. That's too far for Wawrinka. Wawrinka, though, is going to intercept right at the Wildcat blue line, knocks it in deeper for John Good. Minute 10 left in the coincidental minor penalties to Rolston and Olson. Northern Michigan coming out of their own zone. Pass for Jacobson too far. Huskies lose it at the line. Wawrinka on the move for Northern Michigan. Clears it down into the Husky end. First person there will be Scott White. Clears it around the boards. Phil Berger, a pair of 23s meet. Husky 23, though, that being Parnell, clears it back into the Wildcat zone. Sukharov, lead pass for Berger. Berger being ridden off the play inside the line. Russell, a good job there as he eased the Northern senior into the boards. And Podrasky clears a pass. That comes right back out into center ice. Just past the 4-minute mark in the second period. Michigan Tech by a goal, 1-0. 5-on-5 hockey for the next 15 seconds. Jacobson held up, pulled down to the ice. Little dive there by Troy. No call coming, no, from the officials. Coming out of his own zone, Sean Harrison. Penalties about to expire as Harrison drives a long shot, and the penalties and the players are back on the ice. Both teams at full strength. Podrasky out of his own zone for Northern Michigan. Up to Daryl Olson trying to break around the outside. Olson's in. Shot hit the side of the net.
There's going to be a Tech penalty coming up, Tom, as Olson was pretty much dragged to the ice on that breakaway. Olson just stepped out of the box and headed across ice to the bench and then took a pass, and he was pretty well pulled down, and so there'll be a trip call coming up on the Huskies as Daryl Olson very nearly still scored on that play, even though he was being hauled to the ice.
Olson with a good effort to get that shot off and onto Damian Rhodes. Actually hit the outside within about 3 inches of the goalpost off the side of the net.
It's going to go to Jeff St. Cyr as they'll put the Wildcats in a power play for the third time tonight. The Wildcats 0 for 2 so far.
Set that Wildcat power play. Anto centering Daryl Flandowski and Phil Berger. John Good, Pete Podrasky back on the blue line. For the Huskies, Bissett and Kelly Hurd up front. Steve Wendorf and junior Kip Noble, the last line of defense. Noble, as Michigan Tech wins the draw, clears it back to the blue line. Podrasky holds, but Wendorf steps in and golfs it down the ice.
Yeah, Tom, we've seen Michigan Tech tonight win a lot of the faceoffs when they had to, and that was another occasion when they won it clean.
Last night was just the opposite, Ron. It seemed like Northern Michigan won every faceoff in sight. Flandowski knocked off the puck by Kelly Hurd. A little bit of interference going on there. Antosin behind the goal for Berger. Berger back on the blue line for Good. Good back for Berger, top of the circle, back to Good again. Good takes a look off to Berger, cross ice Podrasky, and that'll come back out into center ice. Wildcats will have to clear the zone. 1:15 left in the Northern Michigan power play. John Good clears it right back into the Tech end. Flandowski tries to pinch off his man. Podrasky tries to hold it at the blue line, will do so. Flandowski off the boards, but intercepted by Wendorf and cleared back to center ice. Good just clears it right back in. Michigan Tech's going to eat this up, and Kip Noble will shoot it all the way down the ice. 50 seconds left in the Northern man advantage situation. Both teams change up on the fly. Drake, Galicki, and Ward for Northern Michigan. Podrasky, the last Wildcat left on the ice, along with Daryl Olson. Wildcats bottled up in their own zone. Michigan Tech doing a good job of forechecking. Clear it up for Eric Lamarck. Lamarck in over the line, off to Dallas Drake. Drake takes a look. Drake in the circle, 25 seconds back on the blue line to drive, and that went wide. Wawrinka let that one go. Lamarck along the left boards, off to Galicki. Galicki down low for Lamarck. Lamarck circling, Wildcats on the power play. Olsen from the blue line, off to Lamarck, a one-time right on, and Rhodes makes a good save there. Puck up into the crowd, about 10 seats away from us. And the face-off will stay in the Michigan Tech zone.
Just down to the left of us, and 6 seconds now left in the man advantage for the Wildcats. And again, Northern Michigan having the best of play in this period as they did the first, but they trail it 1-0.
Michigan Tech doing the same thing here in the second period that they did on the Wildcats power plays in the first. Their forwards are pinching out tight on the blue line, and Northern Michigan did a better job that time rotating the play and did get a shot on Rhodes, which is more than they did in the first period.
You wonder, Tom, you know, the Wildcats may or may not explode once they get a goal tonight, but I'll guarantee you the crowd is going to explode when they finally do score. They're ready.
Daryl Olsen from the face-off, a drive, and that gets deflected by Wendorf out front of the Husky goal. Huskies back at full strength as St. Cyr is back on the ice. Wendorf in behind his own goal for Michigan Tech, being held off there by Drake, being run into by Galicki. Huskies clear the zone, and Olsen hustles back after this one. Nearing the 13-minute mark, 13 minutes remaining in the second period. Michigan Tech 1, Northern Michigan 0. Olsen has it poked away right at the Husky blue line. Back the other way in a hurry comes Rob Tushjian. Tushjian pulls up in over the line, snaps off a shot, and Pye gloves that and holds on as Ward and Sean Harrison get tied up and have a couple of words in behind the goal.
They both kind of slid to the ice and wound up along the boards behind the net, and looked for a minute like when they sprang up, they might be ready to go at it. Again, the Wildcats now 0-3 on the power play tonight. They have not scored on it. Tech continues its good weekend, although they've had just one chance tonight, and they scored on it. That's the only goal of the hockey game. Coming back in the first period off the stick of Tom Bissett on a rebound. Still 1-0 Tech with 12:52 to go in period number 2.
Face-off, when it happens, will be off to the right side of Bill Pye. Harrison against Phil Brown. Brown controls this one for Northern Michigan. John Good in behind his own goal. Back for Sukharov, who clears the other way for Kevin Scott. Scott along the near side boards, dumps down lower for Good, around in behind to Sukharov. Sukharov clears the zone for Phil Brown on the move. Brown up for Scott, and that's poked off the stick nicely right there by Scott White. Carried back and over the Tech line, offside. Face off back into the neutral center ice zone.
Kevin Scott couldn't get out of the zone as he was still on the ice, and the face-off comes out just over the blue line. Be interesting to see, Tom. Of course, we're not even going to wish for overtime, but it'd be interesting to see how the Wildcats would play it going into an overtime tonight. Rick Conley has vowed all year Tech will not skate around with that Ramada In Cup in his building, and the only way he can do that, avoid that, is to beat them tonight. But on the other hand, a point is better than nothing, and it'd be interesting to see how he plays it for the point or for the cup.
Northern Michigan trying to bring it out of their own zone. Sukharov intercepts a Husky pass and turns away. Up into center ice for Phil Brown. Brown and over the Michigan Tech line. Kevin Scott off inside, they score!
Oh, what a great pass. Sukharov to the left of the net. Kevin Scott set him up perfectly. And this hockey game tied at 1 at the 7:53 mark of this first period. What a pretty play. As we'll see coming up on the rebound, just a perfect pass from Kevin Scott. And the Wildcats tie this hockey game up. That's like you draw it on the blackboard, Tom. It was just perfect.
For Sukharov, his 4th goal of the year, coming at the 7:53 mark here in the second period in a 1-1 hockey game, Northern Michigan, Michigan Tech.
Second assist on that play going to Phil Brown.
Well, after all the hard work the last 2 nights, Ron, that's the easiest goal they've had on Damian Rhodes. Phil Newer on the ice for the first time for Northern Michigan, back in his own zone, off to Wawrinka. Wawrinka knocked down and behind the goal by Bissett. Jacobson steps in to take it away. Clearing pass for Dave Porter. Porter back up into center ice. This will be taken by Wendorf, cleared right back into the Northern Michigan zone. Wawrinka serves it right back, returned right back into the Northern Michigan end by Wendorf. This is Newer in behind his own goal. Newer tries to step away from Hurd, can't do so. Play loose, St. Cyr clears it down low, and Newer steps in to take that. Newer has it knocked into the back of the net by the Husky player. That being number 19. We'll make that 29, Rob Tushkin. Nope, I was right the first time, Payne Davis.
Davis Payne.
Davis Payne, turn around.
I hate names like that. Just hate them. You don't know what to call them.
What's in a name?
That Wildcat goal scored by Phil Sukharov. And for Phil, his 4th of the season, assisted by Kevin Scott and Phil Brown. Scott picking up his 13th point of the year.
Quick shot off the face-off, and Pye had to be alert there. Northern Michigan clears the zone back out to center ice.
Phil Brown also with his 13th point of the season at that goal.
Loose puck control by Daryl Olson off to Plandowski. 1-1 hockey game nearing the middle point of this contest. Wildcats clear it into the Michigan Tech zone. Plandowski along with Tushkin this time, and Dean Antos tying up in the corner, and we'll have a face-off in the Michigan Tech end.
You see a shot of Rob Tushkin. 1-1 hockey game, exactly 11 minutes to go in the second period.
Well, seeing as how we renamed Mr. Payne, his name is Davis Payne. He's 6'1". He's a freshman from King City, Ontario.
Sounds like a stockbroker.
Sukharov fans on a shot, regains control of the puck, but has it off the skate of Martini, back out into center ice. Wildcats back into the Husky end. Martini just serves it right back out to the center red line. Cross ice is intercepted by Good off for Dallas Drake. Drake at the Husky line, met by Martini. Noble clears it off the boards. It'll be held at the line by Good. Good's pass off the body of Richard Novak back out to center, and Good turns again for Northern Michigan. Poked away. Backing over the line is Jamie Steer. Steer for Novak, tied up by Galicki. Puck right to Pye, and he's going to hang on.
Steer took a big hit from Phil Sukharov for his trouble, as Phil just got that forearm up there and nailed him. Still a 1-1 hockey game, 10:22 to go in period number 2. Wildcats again on the road and next weekend at Minnesota. That's going to be a tough series, you know that. Then the Cats play a Thursday night home game. We'll have that one for you as they take on Lake Superior State for the second time this year. One of the best come-from-behind victories ever by the Wildcats just a week or so ago against the Lakers, and then they'll play 2 nights later in the Sioux.
Phil Brown facing Tom Bissett in the faceoff. Controlled by Brown in Northern Michigan. Clearing pass goes to Kevin Scott. Center ice for Brown. Met right there and stood up by Kelly Hurd, but clearing down into the tech zone is Doug Garrow. Kevin Scott being held in the near side corner. Centering pass off for Garrow is broken up nicely and intercepted by Wendorf. Clearing pass for Hurd too far. Wildcats knock it right back to the center red line. Backing over the line is Garrow. Garrow drop pass, quick shot, score! Kevin Scott.
Boy, Kevin Scott just drilled it. Rhodes got a piece of it, but not enough. And the Wildcats go out top 2-1 at the 10:06 mark here of period number 2. That one just a cannon top.
We'll pick it up on the replay, and Garrow does all the heavy work as he brings it in over the Michigan Tech line. Little drop pass right there to Kevin Scott. Boom, it's in the net. Bodies everywhere.
Yeah, there are. Rhodes one of them. So Garrow will pick up 1 assist.
10:06, the time of the goal.
Garrow will get the only assist. 2-1 Wildcats in the lead.
From the faceoff, puck back into the Northern Michigan zone. Jacobson steps in to take it. Long lead pass for Phil Berger. Berger charging in over the line, gets ridden out of the play. The puck goes right to Damian Rhodes, and he's going to hang on. And
Again.
Berger, Ron, I think he took a chop.
It looks like he's shaking it off. Kevin Scott with that goal, is 6th of the season, assisted by Doug Garrow at 10:06, and the Wildcats with their first lead of the hockey game.
Face off to the left side of Damian Rhodes. Sean Harrison entering the game tonight, Ron, with 99 points, looking for his 100th career point as a Husky tonight. Hopefully he'll wait a week.
I hope so.
From the face-off play, oh, weak shot, they score right out front of the goal.
Troy Jacobson, I believe, yeah, and that was actually a fan by Pete Podrasky, Tom. He just missed the puck, and Troy Jacobson was down in the slot, and it slid right to him, and he just turned around and backhanded it. And this one comes just 20 seconds after the Kevin Scott goal. Watch this. Podrasky fans, there's Jacobson, and he'll put it in. 3-1 Wildcats.
Well, as I said a while ago, Ron, Northern Michigan will get the opportunities to score. They've had 3 good ones here in the second period and have capitalized on all 3.
I'm amazed, Tom. I'm never right.
From the face-off, Podrasky loves it back into the tech zone. Podrasky tries to step around. Bumped off the puck by Noble. Berger, first person there for Northern Michigan. Berger centering pass out for Jacobson a little too far. Jacobson chops it back in behind the Tech goal. Kip Noble with it will clear it all the way up into the Wildcat bench area off the linesman right at the blue line. And the face-off will be right there in front of the Northern Michigan bench.
That goal by Troy Jacobson is 6th of the year, assisted by Pete Podrasky and Dave Porter. At the 10:26 mark, 2 goals within 20 seconds. Wildcats have opened up a 3-1 lead with 9:10 to go here in period number 2. And I was going to say, usually I'm not right about things like this, Tom, as the Huskies want a timeout. Herb Boxer wants to gather his team's thoughts and say, look, we still got a period and a half to play, or very nearly. We've got a lot of time to get back into this hockey game, and I think might be telling Tom they just got to tighten up a little bit.
Well, if you'll recall, last year in a game here at Lakeview Arena, he called a timeout in the very first period when his team was down 4-0. Called a timeout, and that's the game that Tech eventually came back and tied at 4-4.
Well, Boxer has had his say. Wildcat bench. Willie Mitchell on your far right of your screen.
Face off when it happens will be just outside the Michigan Tech blue line. Bissett, Kelly Hurd, and Davis Payne for the Huskies. Wendorf at his own blue line for St. Cyr. St. Cyr dump pass up the right side, and over the line is Bissett. Bissett takes it down low and behind the Wildcat goal. Bissett into the near side corner, poked away momentarily by Wawrinka. Loose puck right there, cleared out of the zone by Wawrinka. Cleared right back in by Kelly Hurd. Pye holds it up in behind his own goal for good. Long pass up into the center right zone for Antos. Too many men on the ice. That's what Northern Michigan's yelling. The whole bench is standing up. And now let's wait and see, because the linesman finally is going to skate over to Buzzy Christensen, and let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, he is going to call it.
Well, they talk about paybacks, Ron, and last night Northern Michigan caught with too many men on the ice. It cost them a power play goal by Michigan Tech. And the Huskies get caught with an additional 2 feet on the ice here in the second period tonight.
Sean Harrison will serve it, but it was a bench minor for too many men. Boy, that scoreboard on that one side is going crazy. Flashing lights, flickering all over. I don't think it's working, Tom.
Little laser light action tonight in Lakeview Arena.
11:30 of the second period, the time of that bench minor for too many men. There you see it. It's just going bananas. And the Cats will go on the power play for the 4th time. And I'll tell you what, Tom, at this point in the hockey game, this is a critical situation for Michigan Tech, I think. Northern Michigan has scored 3 quick goals, the last 2 coming 20 seconds apart. And now Tech, if they give up a goal on this power play, goes down by 3.
Drake, Galicki, and Berger for Northern Michigan. This is Olsen back at the blue line. On the other point is Brad Wawrinka with the puck now. Off to Dallas Drake in the right circle. Drake down low for Galicki. 1:45 left in the Northern Michigan power play opportunity. Clearing pass back on the blue line. Wawrinka winds up, and that shot deflected by Galicki just wide of the goal. Berger along the near side boards, tied up there. Galicki comes in to take it. Back to Berger. Berger into the circle, takes a look, snaps off a shot that's deflected. Loose puck out front of the goal. Galicki, first person there for Northern Michigan, tries to backhand it off the boards. Still tied up. They'll go for the face-off across the way, and they're still poking at the puck. Dallas Drake's going to come away with it.
He's missing a glove, too.
Drake back to Wawrinka. Wawrinka off to Olsen. Olsen winds up for a shot. That's blocked out front. Nice job there by Novak. Corner for Galicki. In behind the goal, Dallas Drake. Centering pass out front, right over the stick of Galicki, back to Olsen, a drive, and that went wide. Dallas Drake, far side boards, 50 seconds left in the Wildcat power play, and Olsen has to come all the way back to his own blue line. Olsen winds it up, back and over the line, snaps a shot, and that just went wide. Dallas Drake, far side, kicks it down to Berger. 35 seconds. Back on the blue line, Olsen. Olsen, a wrist shot. Loose puck right in front of the goal. Nobody sees it. Bissett comes in to take it and clears it all the way back down the ice.
Boy, Phil Berger and Dean Antos both were standing right there, and the puck fell behind him, and neither one could locate it.
20 seconds left in the penalty on the Husky bench for too many men on the ice. 6:45 left second period. Wildcats now by a deuce at 3-1. 10 seconds left on their power play opportunity. Cats ready to go 0 for 4 on the power play. Play tied up along the near side boards, back on the blue line for Olsen. Cross to John Good. Huskies back to full strength. Olsen on the blue line, slap shot, and that goes wide. Antos tries to get it. Back pass off, and Bissett takes that. Lead pass up ice. This is Sean Harrison. He's back out of the penalty box. A backhand shot, and Pye makes an adventure out of that and falls on the loose puck.
Yeah, that's one way to describe it, Tom. It's not a job, and it's an adventure. It looked like it took Billy by surprise a little bit. I think he was surprised that Harrison got that much on the puck on the backhand from that angle. And I also think he thought he was sending it out front of the net. I think Pye was moving out to play the cruiser, the guy coming down the slot. And Sean was actually trying to put it in the net. 3-1 hockey game, Wildcats in the lead with 6:16 to go here in period number 2.
Brown will face Greg Parnell this time in the face-off circle off of the right side of Bill Pye. Puck loose in the circle. And John Good steps in to take it away. Good on a rush up ice for Northern Michigan. John Good in over the line, snaps off a shot. Rhodes the save, rebound loose in front of the goal. Another save as it went off Kevin Scott. And Rhodes had a dangerous chance that time. Scott again from the side. Scott right in front of the goal. Loose puck. Rhodes is down, makes the save, and the puck comes off to Parnell.
John Good with that shot at the tail end, and Rhodes equal to that one.
Sukharov right back in for Northern Michigan. The blast, and that went wide. Kevin Scott bumps his man along the near side boards. Puck down to Garrow in the corner. Garrow trying to control that loose puck, being bothered right there by the Husky winger.
In among that pile was Scott White, and also, I believe Greg Parnell was in there. 3-1 Wildcat. Next goal, a big one, Tom, for whoever scores it. Be interesting to see how Tech reacts if it's a Wildcat goal, and equally so, interesting to see how the Wildcats react if it's a Tech goal.
You know, last night up in Houghton, Ron, I actually thought that if the Wildcats had gone up by 2 goals on Michigan Tech, it would have been over.
Rick Comley said much the same thing at the Blue Line luncheon today. He says we just needed that one more goal after we led it 4-3, and we just couldn't get it.
Jacobson from the face-off, drops a pass back into the circle, but Bissett intercepts. Play loose just inside the line. Jacobson steps in to take it, kind of golfs a shot down low. That misses the net. St. Cyr clears it around the boards. Wildcats with Jacobson will hold along the far side. Off to Berger. Berger on the backhand across in front of the goal. That's intercepted nicely and skated out of the zone by Tushchin. Tushchin, a sophomore from Livonia, Michigan, clearing back down into the Northern Michigan zone. Pye clears it up for Berger. Berger fans the first time, off to Podrasky the second time. Podrasky tries to make a nifty move just inside the line. Has it broken up by the Husky defense. Plays still loose along the far side boards. Jacobson steps in. Jacobson back out to Olsen. Olsen snaps one right on. Puck loose. And Rhodes is down on top. Noble covers up right up to the side of the goal. That's where the puck is.
I think the whistle had blown before it came out of that pile, but Berger was being given a headlock over along the boards for the longest time, and he was near the puck, but obviously not in the play.
Look at number 23 on the Wildcat bench. The face-off, back to Wawrinka. He winds up for the long shot. That gets knocked down out front of the goal. Back to Wawrinka once again. Back pass across to Good. He'll wind up for the blast. Deflected out front of the goal by Galicki, just wide. Drake takes a hit in behind the net. We've got a delayed penalty coming up on the play. It's an interference call.
It'll be against Tech. Nope, or will it be Galicki? It's going to be Jeff Galicki, as he interfered out front with Kip Noble. So Tech will go on the power play.
And that's exactly where Northern Michigan doesn't want the Huskies. The Huskies are doing some big-time hurt on the power play this weekend.
Interference again, the call, as you see there, Jeff Galicki. Didn't argue, just had it right for the box. 15:28 the time of the penalty. And again, as Tom said, Huskies good on the power play this weekend, 4 of 5 so far.
Opportunity for number 6. Wildcat penalty killers just over 80% coming into the weekend, have their work cut out for them here. Clear the zone back into the Husky end. Sean Harrison circles in his own zone. Loose puck right in the center ice area. Phil Brown snaps it back in. 1:40 left in the Galicki interference penalty. Garrow takes a run at Noble in behind the Husky goal. Brown flattens Sean Harrison. Cleared down into the Northern Michigan zone. Bill Pye out of the goal. Clears it off the short glass. Held in by Noble at the blue line. Noble off to Novak. A drive, and that just missed. Huskies dangerous on the power play in the Northern Michigan zone. In behind the goal, this is Jamie Russell. Back on the blue line for Novak, across to Noble. Noble fakes a shot. Off to Harrison, back to Noble one time, and Pye deflects that out front of the goal, and John Good swoops in to pick up the rebound. Clears down the ice. Brad Wawrinka shaking up a little bit out front of the Wildcat goal, making it for the Wildcat bench as Darrell Olson comes on.
That was the 7th shot of the period for Michigan Tech. Believe it or not, Northern Michigan, although it seems like they've dominated this period time, has only 6 shots on net to this point.
Bissett pulls up in over the Northern Michigan line. Being checked there by Podrasky. Back on the blue line, Martini from there, and that shot gets deflected into the corner by Lamarck. Wildcats clear the zone all the way back down into the Husky end. Rick Comley throwing his hands up in the air. Down in behind the Wildcat bench. Martini a long pass. Bissett breaking in. Quick shot, and Pye has that up in the pad area and holds on. good opportunity that time as Bissett broke free.
I don't know if we can see a replay on that, but Pete Podrasky very nearly got burned as he got caught a little bit too far toward the center of the ice, and he got beat around the outside. Billy Pye equal to the task on that one. There you see it. Podrasky just came a little bit too far toward the center of the ice, and Billy Pye had to be tough on that one.
Good job downstairs by the Channel 8 production crew to bring us up to date on that one. 2:57 left second period. Wildcats 3, Michigan Tech 1. 25 seconds left in the Husky power play as Galicki sits out his interference penalty.
Well, this crowd has quieted right down, Tom, after that flurry of 3 goals by the Wildcats. They've settled back in their seats again.
Antos and Bissett, quick shot, and Russell fired that one wide. It got deflected out front of the Northern Michigan goal. Scott White tries a cross ice pass. That'll come back out into center ice. And Flandowski picks up the loose puck and clears it down into the Husky end. Time for one last rush for Michigan Tech. Under 10 seconds left in the power play, but Sukharov breaks that up, clears it back into the zone. Plays still loose in the center ice zone. Wildcats back at full strength as Bissett comes down. Cross ice, quick shot, Rolston. That's deflected out front of the goal, and Sukharov clears it down the ice. This will be an icing call on Northern Michigan.
3-1 hockey game. Wildcats in the lead. 2:22 to go in the second period. Interesting feature coming up between periods, Tom. I found it interesting anyway. It's called Tough Turf, and if you want to know how they lay the ice down at hockey rinks, this will show you how they do it, right from step 1 through the final phase. Good feature, and I think you'll enjoy it. Tough Turf coming up between periods, how they lay the ice down at not only this rink, but rinks across the country.
I saw that on the game sheet tonight, and I was wondering if we're going to do a little football here. Centering pass from Good is intercepted by Wendorf, cleared back to the center red line. Nearing the 2-minute left to play mark in the second period. Wildcats on 3 second period goals now have the 2-goal lead at 3-1. Clear it back into the Husky zone. St. Cyr clearing pass up as he avoids a hit there from Galicki. Back for Parnell. Quick shot and a save by Pye off the stick of Jamie Steer, and he's going to hang on again.
John Good, a good job to force the shooter Steer to the outside, giving Billy Pye a chance to cut down that shooting angle, and Pye had it covered well.
3 of the last 4 Michigan Tech shots, Ron, have been down low in that circle, and they scored 3 goals last night on Bill Pye from low in the circle. Almost impossible angles. No angle whatsoever except between the legs or between the legs and the post, and they're trying it again here tonight.
1:50 to go here in period number 2.
Must be the beat from the Northern Michigan sound machine that's doing that, Ron.
I don't know.
Dallas Drake will lug it out of his own zone for Northern Michigan. Clears it down in. Noble knocks it down with the chest, clears back to the center red line. Sukharov off to Ward. Ward puts it in the skates of Martini. Puck into the far side corner. Ward will be the first person there. Bodies his man off the puck, but clearing the zone is Sean Harrison. Drake clears it right back into the Husky end. This is Martini. Along for Rolston, and we've got something broke down there, Ron.
I heard it, and I'm looking.
One of the partitions of glass that holds the bar up there came off.
Yeah.
A long shot in on Damian Rhodes. Knocked away. Under a minute to play in the second period. 3-1 hockey game, Northern Michigan. All 3 goals here in the second period. Breaking down and over the line, Michigan Tech. Coming back, though, to check off Davis Payne on the play was Daryl Olson. We'll make that Warenka. Backing over the line, Kevin Scott. Scott right in. Rhodes with a pad save as he went down, and Scott tried to stuff it in the short side. Tom Bissett will try and bring it out of his own zone. This clears it back to the center red line. Warenka will clear it right back in. Kind of a raggedy end of the second period. Bissett turns. His pass for Payne is way behind him down into the Wildcat end. 10 seconds left, second period. Both teams ready to head for the locker rooms. Podrasky just flips it in, and that's gloved off by Rhodes. 1 second left. That'll be the end of the second period of play. 40 minutes in the books from Lakeview Arena tonight. And after 2 periods, the Wildcats lead the Huskies by a score of 3-1.
When we come back, we'll take a look at the upcoming events right here on Breslin's Channel 8.
to the heartbeat of America. To the heartbeat.
Well, coming up here on Channel 8, we'll take a look at women's college basketball. The Lady Wildcats, last time we talked, had just one loss on the record. They still do. They won a game down in Hillsdale this afternoon. 11-1, Mike Urie's club is. They'll, of course, play a game between now and then, but we'll have the Grand Valley State game for you. You can watch that one January 16th and January 18th, both nights at 7 o'clock. Then college hockey. These hockey Wildcats going up against Lake Superior State for the second time this year. And if that game is anything like the third period of the first meeting this year, we should have quite a hockey game. You can watch that one January 20th and January 24th at 7 o'clock. And then Hockey East comes in as Northern Michigan takes on First Providence. You can see that the 28th and 31st of January, the 28th at 1 o'clock, the 31st at 7. And the other half of that Hockey East weekend, Northern Michigan taking on Northeastern, January 29th at 3:30 and February 2nd at 7 p.m. And Northern Michigan versus Michigan Tech in women's college basketball, February 8th and 10th at 7 o'clock. And then the men, Northern Michigan against Michigan Tech, February 8th and 10th at 9 o'clock. So double headers on those two nights. First the women, then the men. Lots of entertainment coming up for you right here on Channel 8. Hope you're enjoying this one. The Wildcats in the lead after two periods, 3-1. And again, our feature of the night shows you how they put the ice surface down.
Our attention is drawn to the rough and tumble hockey player. He shoots, passes, checks, and runs plays. We admire the ease and skillful mastery he has of the playing field. What we seldom consider is the frozen surface that makes this unique and fast-paced sport possible.
If you would have been in Lakeview Arena on September 5 this year, this is what you would have seen. 4,200 seats surrounding a dark cement slab. No plexiglass, no boards, no ice. Just a large, flat surface, seemingly no different from any garage floor. But what distinguishes this floor from most is the carefully designed network of pipes hidden inside the solid mass. Pipes that carry an icy brine that cools the floor to a chilly 14 degrees. The brine that cools the cement to a temperature which can sustain ice originates in a room between Lakeview's Olson and Russell arenas. The enclosure houses 3 compressors. 2 work on a lead lag system, coming on when the brine temperature drops 2 to 3 degrees and shutting down when the desired temperature is reached. The other serves as a standby and can be put into use if either of the others suffer a breakdown. The 12-degree brine leaves the compressor and is then pumped the length of either arena, some 200 feet. Now that the artificial winter has been created, the physical characteristics of the rink fall into shape. First, the dasher boards are put in line and fastened to the floor with bolts. Then, the plexiglass is cut to size and mounted in their frames, completing the ice's border. With the frame in place, the picture can now be painted. It starts with a double layer of white paper to cover the dark gray cement. This allows the players and fans to see the black puck as it slides along the ice. This process requires 3 men so that it can be done smoothly and without interruption. The first man carefully rolls out the paper, overlapping it by half to get the double thickness. He is followed by a man who sprinkles water on the paper so it will stick to the floor and lie flat. The third pulls a roller across the paper to push the air bubbles out and form a good seal with the cement. This continues until the entire surface is covered. With great care, the crew then lays the colored paper which will make up the red and blue lines, as well as the face-off circles and goalie creases. Lakeview is able to do this with great accuracy, but when it comes to the fancy work, they call in a specialist. A self-proclaimed scientist, this Escanaba painter brings the Wildcats logo and Lakeview Arena monogram to the ice. With the aid of stencils, he airbrushes 2 layers of paint, one yellow and one green, onto the thin layer of ice and paper. A few touch-ups by hand to cover up the stencil gaps, and the rink takes on a new look. After changing paint colors and stenciling the letters to personalize the rink, the craftsman moves aside and lets the crew start their 5 days of around-the-clock flooding. It starts off small with careful covering of each letter and line, then soon moves up to hand flooding with the use of hoses. This practice continues as 3 crews split the 24-hour day flooding each hour. They must put down 3/4 of an inch of ice before the Zamboni can safely get on the surface. Any less, and there would be a chance of hitting a low spot and damaging the lines or logos. The Zamboni Corporation machine allows the driver to read the ice, that is, to cut the ice with its razor-sharp blades while sprinkling with water to level the surface. This unique system of removing and replacing ice allows the arena to keep the ice thickness between 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch thick. This provides for the fastest and coldest ice, as well as letting the compressors work to their maximum effectiveness. Now that the surface has gone through a distinct metamorphosis, it is ready to allow skaters of all levels to operate at peak performance.
Now that we've got your attention, let's have your appetite at Van Gogh's Pizza and Lounge, North 3rd Marquette.
There you see the story. The Wildcats up by 2 as they lead the Huskies 3-1 as we enter this third and final period. The Wildcats getting all 3 of their scores in the second period. As the first, it was Phil Sukharoff on a great pass from Kevin Scott. Phil Brown picked up the other assist. We'll take a look at that one. Just a pretty play by Kevin Scott, Tom. That's the only thing you can say about this one.
Well, there wasn't anything that Sukharoff could do but put it in the net. So he had the whole side on Damian Rhodes. And Kevin Scott had a good second period. Loose puck right there to Scott, right across. Sukharoff just flips it up.
Yep, that's all he had to do. That made it a 1-1 hockey game and finally let this crowd get into the game a little bit, Tom, as they've been waiting and waiting, and finally they got to explode. That coming at 7:53. Then not quite 2.5 minutes later, it was Northern Michigan taking the lead as Doug Garrow made the play to Kevin Scott this time. And again, a great play.
One-timer by Scott, boom, and it's in the net.
Just dropped it back, and Kevin really let it fly. That at 10:06 made it a 2-1 hockey game.
He got run over just when he let that go by Davis Payne and got a good bird's eye view of that from his belly on the ice.
Payne, however, not spelled P-A-I-N, but P-A-Y-N-E. And the Wildcats, just 20 seconds after that Kevin Scott goal, got another one, and again, just a good play.
Rhodes was expecting that puck a lot sooner than it got there by the time it trickled through.
The draw won by Porter. Podrasky really fanned on it, as you saw, and just kind of slid to Troy, and he had a guy draped on him, but he had enough to backhand it and beat Damian Rhodes. As you see, the Huskies actually outshot the Wildcats in that second period, 9-8. 2-period totals. Wildcats still up, though, 21-16. Rhodes has made 18 saves, and Billy Pye has had to come up with 15 stops in this hockey game.
You know, Michigan Tech, Ron, as we pointed out, playing a lot better tonight in this hockey game. And it's, you know, it's kind of strange. Some nights you don't play well and you come away with the victory, and the next night you play better and you're behind by 2 goals going into the third period.
It's like most games, professional or otherwise, it's any given night, it's hard to tell what's going to happen.
You know, Michigan Tech tonight playing a lot better checking game. They've cut the shots difference in between the 2 teams down into respectable numbers, single digits. And last night, as we pointed out, the shots were almost 2-1 in favor of Northern Michigan.
I think it was, what, 39 and 21 or 20, something like that. It was all Northern Michigan, but Tech won the hockey game tonight. Wildcats lead it 3-1 as we head into the third period. It'll be interesting to see what happens once the first goal, if there is a first goal, is scored in this period.
Well, if Northern Michigan, Ron, gets the 4th goal, we could see numbers 5 and 6 head into the Husky net also, but that remains to be seen.
Well, it's going to be a big goal if there is one scored, and it's going to be interesting to see how Tech will play it. As there you see our final.
Looks like
shot.
Daryl Evans is a little kid, doesn't he?
A little bit, but
There
that's
he is
not
on the
Daryl
ice.
Evans. There he is. Eric Lamarck is who that was. Again, he started out as a goaltender, but now skates as a winger.
And he is also one of the highest scoring Wildcats. That was my hint back in the first period.
Yep.
12 goals, 13 assists, 25 points for the junior from Canoga Park, California.
Yeah, whatever that is. Out in California. Well, Tom, that's a strange place for a hockey player to come from. I'm sorry. Although, more and more you find them coming from all over the United States. I don't know if that's anywhere near LA, but if it is, I don't want to go there.
Well, Ron, you know, I was looking through our program tonight trying to find our city of the night. Usually we have some strange city from some faraway place. And the best I can come up with tonight, and it isn't even really a good one, gave your choice between Eagle River, but, well, we'll get into that later. Here's Ron Plum with the play-by-play of the 3rd period.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, you're right. Castlegar is about as close as I can come. Newmarket, Ontario.
I kind of like Dawson Creek, BC.
Tech comes out of their own zone. They trail by 2 up the right side. Bissett, he has the only Husky goal tonight. Good pass. Shot, Pye stopped it. Hit the top of the net and fell off as Kelly Hurd put it on. Now comes out to St. Cyr. He lost it as it skipped over his stick, and Kip Noble has to go back and pick it up.
Huskies look, Ron, like they want to try and press things here right off the bat in the 3rd period.
Here comes Davis Payne trying to go around Podrasky. Podrasky rides him off the play. Puck winds up under Billy Pye. Podrasky winds up in the net.
And the face-off
Davis Payne winds up with nothing.
Face-off will wind up off to Bill Pye's left side.
First minute of play here in the 3rd period. The Wildcats up by 2, 3-1.
Good shot of Ed Ward there, the Wildcat winger from Edmonton, Alberta, into the hockey game tonight. Having a good season with 5 goals, 12 assists.
That whole line having a good season. Just saying, Ward's a sophomore, Galicki's a junior, Drake's a freshman. They'll, depending what happens between now and then, may get to play intact as a line again for another season. Goods drive deflected off the stick of Jamie Steer into the corner. Here come the Huskies 2-on-1. Steer down the left side. Takes the shot, and Pye the save, and Steer missed the net on the rebound. He had Parnell cutting down the right, but elected to take the shot and almost scored, but didn't. Now Novak puts it on. It went off a Wildcat stick and winds up at the feet of Billy Pye as Novak made a bid as Ward and he get it, the elbows up a little bit. You can bet Northern Michigan, Tom, is not going to want to take any kind of an uncalled for penalty here. They do not want to give Tech the chance to get back in this hockey game.
I'll tell you, the man on the screen right there, Dallas Drake, took a run at his man in behind the goal and awfully close to a charging.
Huskies can't decide who they want out there, and finally Bruce Olson blows his whistle and says, come on, boys, let's play. Troy Jacobson into the circle against Sean Harrison. Harrison wins the draw, goes to the right point. St. Cyr will keep it in as Dave Porter went and took a cross check on him after he let the puck go. Shot, and Pye kicked it out. That almost an excuse me shot from Wendorf at the left point as he was backing out of the zone. Pye leaves it behind the net for Darrell Olson up the right side. It'll go all the way to center ice. Icing is signaled, and it will make the goal line at the other end. They'll bring it back down into the Wildcat end as Northern Michigan clinging to a 2-goal lead at 3-1, 18:22 to play in this hockey game.
That last sequence down in the Wildcat zone, Darrell Olson, number 66, awfully tight on Bill Pye, and that puck almost hit Olson out front of the net, and if it had, it might have ended up in the cage.
Wildcats with a victory take home the Ramada Inn Cup. The Huskies can settle for a tie and do it. There's a drive right from the faceoff through a bunch of bodies off the stick of Jim Carroll, and I don't know if it ever got through to Pye or not. Long right wing pass too far. They wave icing off as Berger digs after it. He's beaten there by Reed McDonald. I think this is the first time this line's been on tonight.
First time for McDonald anyway.
Well, we got two of them out there. Jim Carroll over on the left, who has not been out either, I don't believe. Berger got tied up, pinched to the side of the net. Jacobson in the corner digging after it, and it'll be tied up there by Kip Noble, and they'll face it off in the circle to the left of Damian Rhodes.
Comment made during the hockey game last night, you know, being up in the press box, you get to hear what goes on sometimes. And the Michigan Tech coach is calling down at one point last night saying that Jim Carroll hasn't played any defense on any shift all night, so maybe that's why we haven't seen him too much.
That could be. Yeah, it's always interesting to listen to the coaches. I find the same thing. Interesting to listen to those coaches up in the press box as they talk to the sidelines. Some of the stuff you can't use, some you can. Huskies try to set it up. Phil Brown stalking the puck. Long left wing pass gets through to Bissett. Bissett coming right in on Pye, and he shot it right into him. The rebound! And that got a piece of pie as Davis Payne was sitting right there on the doorstep. Now a shot by Bissett again, deflected off the stick of Kevin Scott. And along the boards, the puck dug out by Phil Brown, up for Kevin Scott. Goes around Jamie Russell. Scott banged hard to the boards by Scott White. The puck squirts loose, and Russell will play it there. Along the far side now, it's Kelly Hurd, checked by Garrow. Garrow goes into the corner, took a hit from Russell, and it's turned out by Hurd again. Warenka shot it right back in as the Wildcats go for the player change. Again, the Huskies starting out behind their own net to set it up. Lamarck chases it into the corner against Scott White. Podrasky at the right point won't be able to hold it in as it's brought out by Jamie Steer.
Wildcats, Ron, have done an awfully good job of forechecking here in the last 2 minutes.
Dean Antos digs after the puck into the Husky zone. He's beaten there bodily by Wendorf, but Antos poked it. Now Wendorf again. Lamarck took it away, sent it behind the net to the opposite corner. Antos chases. Dug out, sent ahead by Parnell, and then chasing it down is Steer. Podrasky beat him there. Pye plays it back to Podrasky. Taken away along the boards momentarily by Parnell, and finally the Wildcats start out a drive, and the save by Rhodes. He'll dive on the puck as Plandowski gets the stick up a little bit with Sean Harrison.
Lamarck and Wendorf also in behind the Husky goal.
Pardon me, that wasn't Harrison, that was Richard Novak. I looked right at him, saw 17, and was thinking 24. I don't know how I did that, but I did it.
I don't know, Ron, but if I can get Payne Davis out there, we'll let you do 24 for 17. As long as we don't end up with Shorty Forrest from St. Cloud State in the game here, we'll be all set.
Wildcats, one of the outstanding freshmen they have, Phil Sukharov. In to take the draw for the Cats will be Dallas Drake.
Now, I'll tell you, Ron, I missed Shorty this year. We should have St. Cloud on the schedule.
Shorty LaForest. Of course, they'll be part of the WCHA beginning in 1990 or next year. Next year, I believe.
Tell you what, when we get a chance here, Ron, be interesting to tell the people what was said at the Blue Line luncheon today about that last goal by Olson against Lake Superior State.
That was a cute story. Dallas Drake over the line, drives it, and Rhodes with the blocker save, and then Drake overskated, or Galicki overskated the rebound. Michigan Tech will clear the zone. Out at center ice, losing it, Galicki. Over the line comes Harrison. His drive deflected off the stick of Jack Good and up into the band. I don't know if you remember, Darrell Olson, as he was heading for the bench, shot a puck from his own blue line against Lake Superior State a week or so ago, and it wound up going into the net. And the younger brother of Minnesota goaltender Rob Stauber, right after that goal was scored, skated right up into Olson's face, and Rick Comley said he thought that there was going to be some trouble. And what the younger Stauber told Olson was, "You'll never beat my brother on a goal like that." Stauber, incidentally, still not back in action for Minnesota. He's still got ligament problems, and they're not sure. It's like a game-to-game thing. They're not sure yet when he'll come back.
Should make next weekend's matchup with Northern Michigan and Minnesota all that much more interesting.
That's what Michigan Tech Sports Information Director Dave Fisher said at the luncheon today. He told Rick Comley the Gophers were saving Stauber for the Wildcats. Wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Well, they just did get Chorsky back from his shoulder injury, and he's not back at full strength either, but he should be getting that direction.
Yeah, of course, with him back and when Stauber gets back, the Gophers would have to be figured to be the favorites to win the league. But again, you never know. Wildcats can play well in that building next weekend. Could be different. There'll be an icing against Tech with 14:58 to go. Here in the hockey game, a 3-1 lead for Northern Michigan.
Goal scorers for Northern Michigan, all three coming in the second period. Sukharov with his fourth, Kevin Scott his seventh, Troy Jacobson his sixth. Kevin Scott also with an assist on the first Wildcat goal. The lone Husky goal back in the first period, scored on a power play by Tom Bissett.
Face off in the circle to the right of Damian Rhodes. Phil Brown will take it for the Wildcats. Tom Bissett will move in for the Huskies. Puck just lay there, finally just dribbles out over the line where Sukharov will backhand it right back in. Noble chases, Brown gives him chase. Puck comes out to the left point. Olsen couldn't get there in time. He'll have to go back into his own end to retrieve it. Now Daryl Olsen up ahead, missed Kevin Scott. That'll go the length of the ice. They waved it off though. Now Doug Garrow goes after it, sends it up along the boards. And we're going to have a penalty coming up.
It's going to be on Phil Brown.
No, I'm not sure what they're doing.
Wait a minute.
No, I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they busted out. Yep.
Did they?
I can't. Well, there's a Tech player hurt. That's why they blew the whistle. But I don't think there's going to be any penalties out of it.
I believe there is. He had his arm up in the air.
Did he? Okay. I was wondering why he hadn't skated over to the scoring table yet. I thought so too when you said that. And he kind of backed toward that way and then circled back around to where the injured player is.
Phil Brown is heading that direction for Northern Michigan.
Yes, he is. See what it is. Maybe a charge or a boarding.
A running conversation going on in the Husky zone between Kip Noble and a Wildcat. And coming in to direct Noble away is Jamie Russell. Something new for Russell, a peacemaker role.
There you see Phil Brown in the box.
Of course, Russell, one of the two players involved in last year's game misconducts handed out here at Lakeview Arena.
Of course, again, Michigan Tech with a big chance time to get back into this hockey game. We still can't see the number of the injured Husky. And now we find out it's number 19, Davis Payne, who is in pain at the moment.
Penalty time will come at 5:30 here in the third period for Michigan Tech. It'll be their third power play opportunity of the night so far. The Huskies 50% at 1 for 2.
Checking from behind is the call, and apparently that's kind of replaced the boarding call, hasn't it, Tom?
It's a nice way of saying he slammed him into the boards.
Three to 1 Wildcats, and of course the Huskies with a big chance to get back into this hockey game as they have the power play. They are one of two on the evening, trying their third. Antos took the puck, got it to Plandowski out front, but he couldn't control. Now Jamie Russell tries to go behind the net. Antos chases the puck. Sean Harrison fell down and was knocked down, and here comes Kip Noble on a rush. He's got two with him. Daryl Olsen forced him behind the net. The puck lay loose, sent behind to the far corner on the right wing side. Plandowski will play it there. Leaves it behind him for Podrasky. The pass right out front to Harrison. He'll take a shot that deflects up to the right and over the net. Now they'll tie it up in the corner again and blow the whistle with 1:14 to go in the Husky power play.
Buzzy looks like he's lost out there now.
3-1, Wildcats lead it. Daryl Olsen giving Christensen a piece of his mind.
Thought for sure he's going to call something, just a matter of on whom, and probably could have called one on each of them down there.
Late substitution by Tech as Jim Carroll skated out onto the ice, and I think he's going to send it back to the bench. He is. Jim Carroll heading back to the Husky bench. Wildcats will clear it all the way down. Dave Porter doing the honors. With 1 minute to go in the Michigan Tech man advantage. They trail it, the Huskies do. The Wildcats with a 3-1 lead. Porter knocked the pass down but couldn't catch up with it. Down the left side comes Darcy Martini. Puck along the boards. Martini had it poked away by Dave Porter, who did a nice job on that shift.
Porter having a good weekend, Ron, coming back from that knee injury. Good to see number 16 back in the swing of things.
Of course, did a pretty nice job working with you a couple weekends ago.
Well, we don't want to get him up here every week, though. Might take my job. Or yours, one of the two.
Well, believe it or not, you know, I told him he did a nice job, and he still wasn't too anxious to come back. Get a puck knocked down with a high stick with 24 seconds to go in the Wildcat penalty. 3-1. Northern Michigan in the lead over Michigan Tech. Of course, every chance, every opportunity, Tom, that slips away from the Huskies, you got to wonder how long they're going to be able to hold their heads up. You know, you get a power play, they're down 2. They need at least 1 to get back in the hockey game. Of course, obviously, they need 2 to gain the tie.
Well, I think this is really the first power play where they really haven't had any offensive pressure in the zone on Northern Michigan. Last night they had a power play goal. They just set it up, and there was no chance whatsoever in the world for anybody to stop the thing.
Antos won the draw after a lot of battle. Got it up to center ice. Antos will pick it up again as Warenka had pushed it up that way. Cleared into the Husky zone, and boy, did Garrow take a run in the corner at Steve Wendorf. I mean, he went in there like he had all the armor on. Penalty's over in 3 seconds as Billy Pye sends it the length of the ice. And now the Wildcats back at full strength. Brown will stay on the ice, at least momentarily. Kevin Scott with it. Dumps it into the near corner. Garrow there digs after it. Has it all to himself, sent it right to the front of the net. Brown got turned around. Warenka faced the shot, then took a check from Novak. Now Novak will get the puck and turn with it in his own corner. Sends it all the way down the ice. There will be an icing call against the Huskies here. 3-1 Wildcats. Just over 12 minutes to play in this game.
Good job penalty killing that time by Antos and Plandowski and Dave Porter, who's back on the bench. And the Huskies now 1 for 3 on the power play this evening.
It's more of the crowd, and I don't think they've done the 50-50 number yet, Tom. Of course, so we have to let them know downstairs. Otherwise, we're both fired.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got my best shot ever tonight, Ron.
Tom, you say that every week.
Well, I think we bought half the tickets this week.
We doesn't include me, folks. I can't afford it. Well, you do got a bundle of them there, 6 or so.
I'll give you a chance right now.
No. Have to be a charge. I don't like credit cards. Darrell Olson with the puck. Cuts right out in front of Billy Pye. Sends it up on the right to Ed Ward. Sending it right back in, Jamie Russell. Darrell Olson turns again. Olson will send it into the right wing corner. Rhodes will leave it behind his net for Scott White, who's being hampered as he comes up ice by Drake. Now Harrison over the line, and Ward did a good job to get back and check him. Then Sukharov takes his man down in the corner, that being Ralston. Here comes Drake with Galicki, and Warenka way over on the right. Drops it for Sukharov, a drive, and I don't believe it got through. I think it hit somebody out front.
I think that did go off the skate that time of Rhodes down there, Ron, and good pass to the trailing man who was Sukharov.
Dallas Drake with a great job of back checking on Sean Harrison as he came back and just stripped him of the puck and knocked him down at the same time. Phil Berger dumped it behind the Husky net, played by St. Cyr up to the line. Podrasky kept it in. Puck bouncing around. Finally, Jacobson winds up with it. Sent out to center ice now where Tom Bissett has it. Over on the right, Warenka took it away from Kelly Hurd. Warenka being bothered by Bissett. Warenka loses him. Brad out front to Podrasky. He'll wind up and drive his shot, and it went wide to the right. Now Jacobson in the corner, out to the right point to Podrasky again. Down in the corner again, it's Phil Berger trying to work free with Bissett all over him. Here comes Warenka, he'll drive a shot, and Rhodes to save the rebound, and they score! And the Wildcats go up 4-1, as I believe it was poked in by Dallas Drake, or Phil Berger. hard to tell. There were 2 cats out front, Tom. Maybe we can pick it up in the rebound, but it looked like Berger was excited, so we'll give it to him for the time being.
Well, Berger's not going to endear himself to the Michigan Tech bench because after he gets the loose puck down low, we can run this replay just a little bit longer.
Well, he made the locomotion pumping motion, but he was heading right for the Tech bench when he did it. So Berger scores at 9:43 of this third period. And the Wildcats have opened up a 3-goal lead at 4-1, and that may be all she wrote for the Huskies. Boy, a near goal by Plandowski as he put it right behind the net, just missed. There's a score by Tech. Great pass by Greg Parnell, and Richard Novak puts it in. And so just like that, at 9:55, 12 seconds later, had to be a little bit longer than that. Maybe that, well, anyway, 10:05 the time of the goal, and Novak scores on a pretty pass from Parnell, as you saw there. Well, it's a 4-2 hockey game, and the Huskies may not be out of it yet. That'll teach me to open my mouth.
I'll tell you what, Ron, I think if anything, that gesture that Phil Berger made after the goal may have fired up the Huskies a little bit.
Well, they're out there flying around right now. Doug Darrow tries to clear the zone and does. Got it up center ice. Picked up. Here comes Brown over the line, but Olsen's stuck in there. Maybe Kevin Scott, too, as they blow it dead on the offside.
You know, from participating in team sports before, there's nothing that happens to irritate people more when you're on the opposite team than when somebody rubs it in your face a little bit.
Yeah.
Last 2 goals, Berger is 13th from Wawrinka and Jacobson at 9:43. Then Novak with his 6th from Parnell and Jamie Steer, 10:05, 4-2 on the board. Wildcats by a pair.
Well, I don't doubt that Phil Berger heard about it from Rick Comley on the bench when he got over there. I didn't actually see it, but probably just a sly little word. Nothing wrong with celebrating, of course, but you do it up ice or in the other direction. You don't skate right toward the Huskies. But it's a 4-2 hockey game, and we've still got half a period to go. Wildcats in the lead by 2. Olsen at center ice, wristed a long shot right on net. Rhodes made the save. Wildcats really haven't had a lot of shots either the second period, they had 8, or this period. Garrow with a drive, that's wide left. At least not on net. Podrasky will take it away from Rolston. Olsen sent it too far ahead. Tried to hit Phil Brown with it. They waved the icing off. Now Sean Harrison turns in his own zone. He's got a head of steam going. Got it past Galicki, but offside over on the left. Both number 20 Ron Rolston and number 29 Rob Tustian. Here's the winning 50-50 raffle number, 385. Hope the crew got that downstairs, but it's not going to make any difference to anybody watching this. 385, the winning 50-50 number. That's strictly for the crew. I don't see anybody running over there real quick, Tom, so must be losers downstairs too.
All our cameras are still in operation. Ooh, rough ball there by Wawrinka.
Oh, that hit the post on the right side as Bissett let it go. Either hit the post or the side of the net. Real near the ice, sent right through the crease on the backhand by Bissett. Now Ward chases it to center ice, but it's played there by Martini. John Good back in his own zone. The Wildcats with a 2-goal lead with 8:10 to play. Good will just dump it into the Tech end as They go for a change. Wendorf plays it up ahead, still carries. Wendorf sends it all the way behind the Wildcat net. Pye will leave it there. Billy Pye sends it up the left boards for Porter. He couldn't locate it. The Huskies trying to dig it out. Finally, Sukharov sends it up to the line, but not out. A drive by Novak steered to the side by Pye. Now Sukharov turns with it. Left wing pass off the skate of Dave Porter. He's trying to get around his man. St. Cyr finally does. Rhodes just barely beat him to the puck. Puck comes loose, taken away by Jacobson. Tried to set up Porter to the side, and Berger's got it. Right out front, Jacobson deflected it just wide. Now Troy with it again. Out to the line to Sukharov. There's a drive from the boards by Porter, and Rhodes had to kick that one out. Then dumped out front of the net was Jacobson as he went down over the stick of Greg Parnell. Might have been a little acting, but the crowd wanted the call anyway. Now the puck poked right back into the Wildcat zone. It hit the skate of Bruce Olson. Sent right out front. Sukharov had to make the play. Now it's Rolston again behind the net. Sean Harrison with it. The Huskies dangerous. Out to the line. A drive there. Hit the skate of Troy Jacobson. And Daryl Plandowski comes back. He'll drive a shot. That went off a stick as Berger goes right at Scott White. And Phil Berger winds up on the ice. Berger went charging in with his elbows up, and he wound up on his back.
Paid attendance at tonight's hockey game. Lakeview Arena, a season high 4,061.
Nice to see that much of a crowd in here. What's this building hold, Tom? 41, almost 42?
I think it's closer, well, with standees around 44.
44. Still, it's nice to get over that 4,000 mark.
Largest Wildcat crowd in at least a year and a half.
Boy, Warenka had a scary moment as Bissett stripped him of the puck, but Podrasky helping Warenka cover up. Now Lamarck along the near boards. Sends it behind the Husky net into the far corner. Plandowski overskated. Antos sends it right through the slot. Lamarck wasn't there. Podrasky at the right point. He'll drive it, and Rhodes to save. The rebound loose. Antos digging after it. Rhodes will cover up and hold on.
Well, the largest Wildcat crowd around the last couple of years was North Dakota on senior night 2 seasons ago, when Gary Emmons and Ralph Voss and those folks were seniors. A little bit, I think we're right around the 4,300 mark that night.
6:10 to play in the hockey game. Kevin Scott chases the puck. Left it behind him, but it's picked up by Kip Noble. Huskies with 6 minutes to tie this hockey game up or win it. If they want to take the Ramada Inn Cup back to Houghton, more importantly, if they want to close the gap between themselves and the second place Hockey Wildcats in the WCHA. Long drive by Garrow from over the blue line. Kevin Scott offside over on the left.
Goodly portion offside also. You know, I bought all these 50-50 tickets, Ron, and bought them with one idea in mind. I knew my chances of winning were, well, you know, pretty low, but I needed some confetti for after the game's over to celebrate the Ramada Inn Cup. And we're going to start right now preparing for that.
Tom, I don't buy that for a minute.
That's what I told. That's what I told Herb Boxer last night when he was telling me that's the way he planned the game in the first period.
That's right. We'll get Damian Rhodes to keep us in this thing in the first period. That is a pretty cute answer, though. At least he
said it with a straight face too.
Well, Herb's good at that. Nice guy, though. Herb's okay. I went over before the game to ask him for his starting lineups, and he asked me for $5.
Suppose you didn't give him any money either.
Well, I told him saving myself a 80-yard walk wasn't worth $5. He did give it to me. He was smiling when he said it, though. Tech with 5 minutes, a little bit more than that, to get back in his hockey game. Ed Ward had the puck bounce away from Sean Harrison. Ward clears it into the far corner. Drake goes after it, tried to get it to Jeff Galicki. That hit the body of St. Cyr, though, and he'll clear it back into the Wildcat end. We're ripping those into pretty small pieces.
This makes a nice little pile.
Daryl Olson fanned on it. He was going to wrist it toward the net and left it behind him. Puck into the near side corner on the right wing side, and they'll tie it up as a bunch of bodies wind up on top of it. And they'll face it off with 4:41 to play. 4-2, the Wildcats in the lead. They took a 4-1 lead, but just 22 seconds after they took that 3-goal lead, Michigan Tech scored a goal. Richard Novak countering Berger's marker and makes it a 4-2 hockey game, and that's where we still are.
Only one penalty here in the third period so far, that one on Brown.
Podrasky a drive and the save by Rhodes. Dave Porter trying to reach that rebound, couldn't. Olsen a drive, and it hit the side of the net. This crowd was on its feet. They thought it was in. Rhodes took a swipe, I believe, at Troy Jacobson. Billy Pye with the easy save off the long shot, and here's Bissett in the corner. He took it away. But here comes Pete Podrasky back. Podrasky will just dump it into the Husky zone as the Wildcats change defensemen, and one of the wingers, Warenka and Good out there now. Plandowski also out in the ice. Back to center ice. It's Warenka with it again. They'll clear it back in. Berger comes out. The offside waved off. Now Berger and Jacobson get off the ice as the Antos, Lamarck, Plandowski line takes over. Antos pulls it into the Husky zone, left it behind him, but over skating it was Plandowski. Gets it down in the corner for Lamarck. Nobody out front. Then finds Plandowski, who couldn't get it out front. Hit a couple of Huskies, and finally Rhodes will reach down and cover it up with 3:29 to go. A 4-2 hockey Wildcat lead.
Northern Michigan with the Antos line continuing the forechecking job that they've done all weekend with the opportunity out front of Rhodes. Now, we mentioned only one penalty here in the third period, Ron. For the hockey game, Northern Michigan penalized a total of 4 times for 8 minutes up till now, and Michigan Tech penalized 5 times for a total of 10 minutes in the hockey game.
It's a relatively low
weekend.
Huskies, of course, getting beat in the Great Lakes Invitational and by Lake Superior State largely because they took a lot of penalties in those 3 hockey games. In fact, their victory over Northern Michigan in game 1 of this series broke a 4-game Tech losing streak.
Tell you, Lake Superior's won 2 straight games after the Northern loss. Offside at the Wildcat blue line. They, of course, beat the Huskies last Monday, and then last night beat Michigan down in Ann Arbor. And Michigan State, after losing in the Great Lakes tournament, went into Chicago last night and lost to Illinois Chicago by a score of 4-2.
Only their 3rd loss of the season. Face-off just outside the Wildcat blue line. Won by the Huskies. Driven into the zone by St. Cyr. Pye left it behind him for Brad Warenka. Warenka up the left side for Plandowski. Long right wing pass for Lamarck. Lamarck over the line, being ridden into the corner by Wendorf. Antos behind the net. Dragged out front, fanned on by Lamarck as he lost it off the end of his stick. Coming back, Ron Rolston, he'll just dump it into the corner, chasing it down Tushkin, but cleared out of the zone. It'll be played by the goaltender as icing was waved off. Circling his own net, Jamie Russell gets it up on the right. Nice move that time by Scott White to go around Kevin Scott. A long drive wide of the net. Played out at the left point, back into the corner by Jamie Russell. Olsen goes in after it. Pokes it away from Kelly Hurd. Then Kevin Scott took a hit from Bissett. Puck still loose. Scott trying to kick it up the boards toward the blue line. Bissett trying to kick it the other way. Finally, Kevin kneels on it. And 2:16 to go on this hockey game. Wildcats lead it 4-2.
Got about another minute or so to go before Herb Boxer has to think about pulling Damian Rhodes for the extra attacker. Look at Kevin Scott. He's had a good weekend. Had a goal last night up in the Copper Country, a goal and an assist on the game tonight. And Scott is one who has picked up his game as the season has gone along. Of course, a name that we've called a few times tonight that's also been coming on recently, and that's Troy Jacobson. He was flying up north last night, really putting on the juice here again tonight.
battle in that circle as finally they drop it. Parnell won it. Missing the shot was Wendorf. Ed Ward plays it, lifts it out to center ice into the Husky end. Won't go far enough for an icing. Galicki chasing. Turned behind his own net by Noble. Nice pass to Novak center ice. He'll backhand it ahead, but Dallas Drake had Greg Parnell all tied up. Down to 1:45 to go in the hockey game. Wildcats control. Olsen tried to keep it in. He hit Novak with it, and Novak will start out. Rhodes still in the net. Here come the Wildcats. They caught the Huskies with a line change. Galicki with a shot right on net. Rhodes has to dive to make the save, and he'll hold on for the faceoff.
Minute and a half even left in regulation time, and of course after the game, across the way right now, we can see the Ramada Inn Cup over there in the entrance to the Wildcat locker room area.
Yeah, right by the door where they come onto the ice. We can see it gleaming from here. I'm not sure who's got a hold of it. It looks like it might be Brian Verrigan.
Imagine there might be some Ramada Inn people close by too.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe that's who's got a hold of it.
That is Brian Verrigan, though. He was guarding that diligently before the hockey game started.
Yep, there you see.
There's Brian right in the middle.
We took that shot of it before the game. He had his eyes on it the whole time. A shot right from the draw as Jacobson moved right in, and Rhodes made the save. Porter dumps it right back into the Husky zone. Down to 1:15 to go. Wildcats with a 2-goal lead, and the Huskies can't get it down into the Wildcat end long enough to think about pulling Rhodes.
Looks like Rick Comley's words will come true. The Huskies will not skate around Lakeview Arena with the cup.
Nope, but next year they play game 4 of this series up in Hope. Last minute of play in the hockey game. Wildcats with a 4-2 lead. Of course, it's not over yet, but Huskies running out of time.
Surprised Rhodes is still in the goal.
Up to the left point. Well, I am too, to be honest with you. Broken stick on that shot, and Berger just lifts it the length of the ice for an icing. I wonder if Phil thought he was gone.
He should be coming out now if he's coming out at all.
40 seconds to go, and Rhodes looking toward the Husky bench, but Herb Boxer making no indication that he's even thinking about removing the goaltender. I'm surprised. I really am.
Well, a big victory for Northern Michigan if they can hold on for another 40 seconds with the 2-goal lead going into Minnesota to take on the Red Hot Gophers next week. And also, as we indicated coming on, Ron, hopefully widening that gap between second and third in the league standings, and by the same token, keeping halfway close to Minnesota.
Yeah, forget the Ramada Inn Cup. That's what surprises me the most is Michigan Tech now has 2 more games off the schedule, and they're no closer to Northern than when they began the weekend. Of course, maybe Herb's just figuring he's going to be one of the teams that gets a home ice berth, and he's not going to worry about it. Boy, Antos took a big hit from Bissett. Down under 30 seconds to go. Rhodes made no attempt whatsoever to leave the net as Herb Boxer riding the storm out.
Good, hard, clean hit a minute ago by Tom Bissett just inside the Husky blue line. Sent Dean Antos down to the seat of his pants rather rudely.
Yeah, rudely is a good word. I like that one. That's what it was. Down to 20 seconds to go. The Wildcats will win this game and the Ramada Inn Cup. Wawrinka at center ice just rags it. Down to 10 seconds. He'll just clear it into the Husky zone. The crowd getting to its feet as the final 3 seconds wind down. And that'll do it. The Wildcats win this hockey game and the Ramada Inn Cup. Final score in this one, Northern Michigan 4, Michigan Tech 2.
I got a dream, it comes from the heart of the heartland. I can make my dream, cause I chase my dream, right from the heart of the heartland. I won't rest, I'm gonna reach for the best, got it all here in my hand. And wherever I go, I'm gonna let them know
In the heartland, people know what it means to reach for a dream. That's where Old Style is brewed. Brewed with a dream. Not to be the biggest beer in America, just the best. Reach for the best. Old Style beer.
Looking for outdoor comfort? Look downstairs at Getz's. For winter work or fun, Getz's has tough, heavy-duty, long-lasting gear from well-known manufacturers like Carhartt, Woolrich, Dickies, Dufo in every size, including big and tall. There's Sorels for men, women, and children, and lacrosse boots in every size. And downstairs at Getz's, there's years of experience to help you pick the right winter gear. Before you go outdoors, go downstairs at Getz's, South Front Street, Marquette.
So catering for the production crew tonight was provided by Bango's Pizza and Lounge, 927 North 3rd Street, Marquette. The Wildcats winning
Welcome
this
to
hockey
the
game
first presentation
by the score of 4-2 as we let Tim McIntosh take over the presentation of the Ramada Inn Cup.
Series between the NMU Wildcats and the Michigan Tech Huskies. Both schools wish to thank the Ramada Inns of Marquette and Houghton for their sponsorship of the Cup and their support of college hockey. Representing the Ramada Inn of Marquette, General Manager Tim Larson.
Thank you very much, Tim, and good evening. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to announce the winner of the Ramada Inn Cup Hockey Trivia Contest. And the winner receives a trip for two to Las Vegas, Nevada, and airfare is provided by American Airlines, and the lodging is provided by the Tropicana Casino and Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the winner of the trip is John Limback. So, John, if you're here this evening, congratulations to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we'd also like to present the General Manager of the Ramada Inn of Houghton, Mr. Mike Tomasi. This time I would like to have Tim Larson, the General Manager of the Ramada Inn of Marquette, present the first UP College Hockey Challenge Series Ramada Inn Cup to this year's winners, Captains John Good, Jeff Galicki, Coach Rick Comley of the Northern Michigan University Wildcats.
Well, we'd like to thank everyone up here. It's been a battle with Tech for a long time. I'd like to congratulate Tech on a good series. Seems we're always battling. It's good to win this. We worked hard, and we really appreciate everyone's support, and thanks for Ramada Inn.
Well, the celebration down on the ice, Tom, says it all. Again, you know, the cup's a nice little incentive to throw in there. You know, I'm sure it's not the most important part of the series, but it's just another added thing for motivation. The Wildcats have won the first one, winning tonight's game 4-2. Next year, you can bet your boots Herb Boxer's going to use not only everything else, but the cup as a motivation to get his team ready for this series.
Well, you know, they do these kinds of things all the time in football around the Little Brown Jug, Michigan, Minnesota. And it adds a nice touch as the Wildcats are down there having a team picture taken with the Ramada Inn Cup. And it's something that, as you pointed out, can be used, and I'm sure it will be. And next year, the Wildcats' goal will be to retain the Ramada Inn Cup for Marquette and Northern Michigan University.
Obviously, interesting enough, Tom, over the years, the other team has seemed to play well in the other's building. In other words, the Huskies here, Northern Michigan there. Last couple of years, it hasn't worked out like that.
Well, last year, Tech did play well in this building, and they actually came away with a tie, and I believe they won down here.
Yeah, I think they did.
But this year, it's 2-2, and both teams have won both games on their home ice, which is a departure from years past.
Big win for Northern Michigan tonight, Tom, as they really needed this game. As we pointed out in the pregame, everybody except for Northern Michigan and Denver won last night in the WCHA. A big victory for Northern Michigan. They've got 4 or 5 teams breathing down their neck. This will give them a little more room. They were 5 points up on Tech and Wisconsin coming into tonight, and 6 up on whoever's behind them and so forth. But this will at least maintain that cushion for them.
Well, it puts Northern Michigan over the 30-point mark on the season going into next weekend's battle with first-place Minnesota. And it sets up what's going to be a very big game next Friday night. And you would think that going into Minnesota, if the Wildcats are going to win a game, they would win the Friday night game. Michigan Tech beat them up there a couple of weeks back, and I'm sure that Rick Conley's going to say, if Tech can do it, guys, we can do it too. And that's what they're going to be aiming for next Friday night.
No doubt about it. It's going to be a tough place for the Wildcats to play. Tough for anybody to play there, Mariucci Arena, against the first-place Gophers. And if Northern Michigan is going to have a shot at winning the WCHA this year, and most folks don't seem to think that's possible, but, you know, if they can turn it around, win one or maybe both games, of course, that's few and far between. The thing that scares me, Tom, is they had the 4 straight road victories early in the season. Since then, they haven't won on the road again, and that's got to be a concern to Rick Conley.
Oh, it does, and the fact that they went to Duluth and didn't play all that well the first night and played better the second night. They played well up at Tech last night, should have won the hockey game, but didn't do it. And, you know, while maybe no one expects Northern Michigan to overtake Minnesota, I'm sure that Rick Conley will tell you that he wants to keep getting the victories to ensure the home ice advantage, which Northern Michigan has never had since they've been in the WCHA.
That's right. Wildcats win it tonight over Michigan Tech 4-2, winning the Ramada Inn Cup in its inaugural year. That'll do it for us tonight. Next action for Wildcat hockey coming up against Lake Superior State. Hope you'll join us then. Again, the final score, Wildcats 4, Michigan Tech 2. Good night.